The Mets in the championship series on the line.
This is what we dream of as kids, right? I mean, as a little kid, this is what you want.
Let's go Padres. Plus, the Aztecs are on the road in Wyoming in more Mountain West action. Now, it's Jon and Jim.
What's going on, San Diego? Jon and Jim on what I think is one of the biggest sports days in the history of this city. Padres, Dodgers, Game 5 tonight at Dodger Stadium. Winner moves on to the NLCS to take on the Mets starting on Sunday. It still is Jon and Jim today, except it's Jonathan Rifkin.
Jim and Jon.
Jim and Jon today. It's still there's a Jon in the Jon seat. It's just not the Jon that you hear every single day. But thanks for joining me, buddy. Appreciate it.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me.
I think this is tonight one of the biggest games in franchise history. I know there was 84. I had somebody in my mentions today say 84 Game 5, the Garvey home run was bigger. But I just think with everything that is surrounding this matchup, the rivalry, what's happened the last couple of years, it's the Dodgers. You're on the road. Game 5 in 84 was at home. Game 5 here, it's on the road. I think, to me, just because of what will happen after the game for the team that wins, it's the biggest game in franchise history, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I think that for you and me, it's certainly the biggest game in like the lifespans that we have had caring about sports. I understand like the emotional tie that people have to 84 or 98 or even 2022. Mm-hmm. You could make like a very quick and short case about 22. Right. But I think that the stakes that you laid out, you know, the fact that it's the Dodgers, especially the tone around this series, you know, if social media existed in 84, maybe things would have been perceived differently. Mm-hmm. But like we have all of this extra information that goes into the series, you know, between all of the extracurriculars off the baseball field, that it does really have the feel as if it's like one of the biggest ever.
Yeah. And you know, it's not going to the World Series type of game, right? You're just moving on to the NLCS. It's not a, you win tonight, you win your first championship in franchise history. Those hopefully will come, and then those will become bigger games and bigger moments. But as of right now, you know, with everything that's happened in this series, from Game 2 at Dodger Stadium to the whole 24-hour mess between Machado and Dave Roberts and Ken Rosenthal, and then getting shut out the other night to force a Game 5. I mean, we're about 4 hours, a little under 4 hours away from first pitch. It's 1:30. First pitch is 5:08. So that's what, 3.5 hours away?
Sure.
I can't do math.
Schaefer's the math guy.
Right. 3.5 hours away a little bit. And
that's why you're here, J. Riff. You're here to pick up the maths.
Right. No, I'm here to make Jim feel better about his math skills.
Right. So it's just the nerves are going to be setting in. People are getting nervous now, and I understand it.
Are you getting nervous?
It's set in. Yeah, I am on the verge of like
nodding his head off like he's a bobblehead in there.
Yeah, like the pacing will be happening early on in this game. Darvish and Yamamoto on the mound, a great matchup on the paper. But we don't know how long these guys are going to be out there.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. Do you know, sticking with this conversation of like, is this the biggest? Was there ever a situation where if the Padres had won a series that they were the favorite to win the World Series? Did that happen in 84? Because like to me, like the favorite for the World Series.
Yeah, Tigers were an amazing team that year.
And 98 probably
Yankees,
not either, right?
No, not even close. Yeah. Yankees that year was like one of the best seasons ever.
So this would, you know, on paper or analytically be the Padres' best chance of winning World Series if they do advance, which adds to that heightened state of like, oh, like the stakes are bigger now than they've ever been.
And that's why, yeah, you're absolutely right. That's why tonight feels so big, because the chance that this team has, if they advance, I'm not saying that they would roll over the Mets, because I think the Mets are playing with some like weird voodoo magic right now.
I heard you guys have what's his name, Dan
Grimace Magic.
Yeah, what's that guy that you guys had
Dan
on?
Zaborski.
And Dan Zaborski was like, yeah, the Mets are going to win because they have Grimace. I'm like, oh my goodness, come on,
I don't. And they also have the Hawk Tua girl as well, which is
she's a Mets fan.
She's
they're doomed.
Yeah, it's
fine.
A lot going on. But anyway, you're right. This team feels, and like everything that's happened this year, with the amazing second half, the amazing performances out of nowhere from guys like Jurickson Profar, the rookie season of Jackson Merrill, what they're playing for, the whole season that's dedicated around Peter Seidler, the magical moments they've had, the comeback victories, all of that, pushing the Dodgers to the brink in the regular season. Yeah, it does feel like, you know, this this has the feeling of, okay, this is the best chance that this franchise has had to win a World Series. And that's why tonight it gets heightened from that standpoint. These aren't like, it's not like an underdog feeling. Like
they don't feel like underdogs.
They are technically underdogs tonight.
If they were hosting the game, they wouldn't be.
But I consider them one of the best teams in baseball. And whoever wins tonight, I would bet, is going to be one of the Vegas odds to win the World Series.
Yeah, and that's how it's been. The reason that the World Series odds have been shifting between the Padres and the Dodgers, it's been predicated on who's hosting the game that day.
Mm-hmm.
And because the Dodgers are hosting the game tonight, the Dodgers currently have the World Series odds.
Yeah.
I don't think that anybody outside of either, like, here's the thing, and I said this for the 30 minutes, then it felt like 30 seconds that I was on the midday matchup with Fletch and Sammy Long.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the Dodgers have more liability on their roster than the Padres. Like the Padres advance, like it's harder to expose the flaws within the Padres than it is for the Dodgers.
Yeah, the Dodgers right now are putting a guy out there that has the largest contract in the history of baseball for pitchers, and Yoshinobu Yamamoto. And if you ask Dodger fans how much confidence you have in him, looking at his career numbers against the Padres this year, not a lot. Their pitching staff is kind of decimated. They only have 2 starters really that they can rely on. Their bullpen has been really good this series, but it's not like a considered dominant bullpen.
Right.
Freddie Freeman's on one leg. The bottom half of their lineup, it's kind of hit or miss there. Ohtani and Betts are really the driving forces of this team. It's not the best Dodger team that they've had over even recent memory. It's the one of the first teams that hasn't won 100 games in a regular season. Now, they did end up having the best record in baseball. But I think if you ask Dodger fans that, would you consider this one of the best Dodgers teams on paper right now, I think they would tell you no. And it's kind of one of those things, well, okay, just because the Dodgers don't have the quote-unquote considered best team for the Dodgers standpoint, they're still the favorites. Mm-hmm. They still have home field. They still should be considered as much. And I like the position the Padres are going into this game, even though it's on the road, even though that they're the underdogs. I like that when their backs up are against the wall, when they feel slighted, when they have a chip on their shoulder, they just, I feel like, perform better. I don't know. That's just what I've seen from this team this whole entire year.
Did that chip not exist on Wednesday because it felt like they got that angst out?
A little bit, going into that game, it was almost like all right, we're getting ready to celebrate type of the mentality.
Right.
And you can't do that against this Dodgers team. You really can't. They had the magical moment in 2022, but if you remember, they were trailing that game 3-0.
Mm-hmm.
And then obviously the 7th inning happened, and then Juan Soto and Jay Cronenworth, and they won that game in the rain, and it was a magical moment. But yeah, the feeling the other night was a lot of nervousness, rightfully so, because you did not want to see this team go back to Dodger Stadium tonight for Game 5. And then the home run in the first by Mookie. And then you got the Ohtani RBI in the second. Cease couldn't get out of the second inning. He only pitched 1 2/3, and then it kind of, snowballed from there. And I just think you're not going to see that same Padres team tonight. I think they're going to play much more loose. I think they're going to play much more like themselves. And I just think that them being in a hostile environment, while for fans, it's going to be as nerve-wracking as you could possibly imagine, for this team, I think they thrive on it.
Well, and that's the thing, right? Like, if you want to get into like the pressure situation, like who really is under the gun here? Yes, there's a ton of pressure on both teams for different reasons, except for the fact that like your season's over and your World Series aspirations are gone if you don't win here tonight. But it does feel like the flip of the script up the Chavez Ravine adds a little bit more pressure to the Dodgers. Do you get that feeling? Because like we know I was at that game on Sunday, Jim. I was at that game. I was sitting up in the 300, what they call it like 11 TD, but it's like the 300 to Petco.
Yeah.
Like all of those fans up there wanted to throw things on the field too. They just knew that if they couldn't get it far enough.
The section where they all are kind of rowdy up there.
Super rowdy. Like whenever you see Twitter fights, that's where it's happening up there in that section. And like they just knew like if I throw this beer, it's gonna land on the reserve section below me, so maybe I won't. But they all wanted to get into it. They all thought that jerks like the thing about that stadium is they almost put more pressure on their own team with the way they act.
Well, that's how it is. I feel like at every home ballpark in the postseason.
You feel like the Padres fans put the Padres under more pressure?
No, I don't feel like the Padres fans do that. I feel like the team puts that pressure on themselves because they know that they want to have the ballpark just explode like it did on Tuesday night in the second inning, and that place was insane. So going down early, trying to get something going, I think it was a bad matchup with the bullpen that the Dodgers threw out there because they've done really well against the Padres lineup this entire series. I just think from a home crowd standpoint, they don't put the pressure on the players. I think the players put the pressure on themselves to make sure we got to get this crowd into this game and got to get this into this game early as well.
I don't think the fans put the pressure. It's more like if your parents are at the game that night,
You want to perform for them. Yeah.
Exactly. Your parents aren't exactly putting pressure on you, but you want to do well because your parents are there. And I think that's kind of the impact of, there's not as much impact as, screw the Dodger fans. They don't care about them. So, there's not that added pressure.
Like the Dodgers have to perform well to justify the action of their fans, to make up for the action of their fans. Rather, the Padres, they want to reward their fans for the energy and the excitement that they bring to Petco Park. So it is interesting, but I like what you said about like the chip on the shoulder mentality. Like they're not underdogs, but it feels like they have more to lose than the Dodgers just organizationally. And that's where you can.
You mean the Dodgers?
The Padres. The Padres don't feel like the underdog, but they have the chip on their shoulder.
Okay, yeah. I think.
Sorry if I didn't explain that one.
Yeah, no, I agree, and I think that the Dodgers have more to lose here personally, just because of their history in the last 3 seasons in general. Coming up on the show today, Kevin Acee is going to be joining us live from Dodger Stadium. John's going to be checking in from Laramie, Wyoming as well. Coming up next, lineups for the Dodgers have been released. We'll give you the lineup, and is Freddie Freeman in the lineup for the Dodgers tonight? We'll tell you coming up next. If you missed our 2024 iHeart Music Festival, you can now watch the best moments exclusively on Hulu. See the biggest festival headliners from around the world assembled on one stage, on one show. Keith Urban, New Kids on the Block, The Black Crowes, and many more. This is the only time you will see a lineup of superstars perform like this on one stage. See it all at our 2024 iHeart Music Festival, streaming only on Hulu. The Dodgers lineup is... Whoop, that was weird. The Dodgers lineup is out tonight. Also, the Padres just announced their lineup as well. I'll start with the Padres because I have it in front of me. There was a little conversation, Jonathan, about in the last day and a half with the struggles of Luis Arraez and this lineup in particular struggling, only scoring one inning at home and then getting shut out the other night. Should maybe Mike Schilt move Fernando Tatis Jr. up in the leadoff spot? Should he switch around some things in the lineup? And if you have listened to Mike Schilt all year long, he is the ultimate, like, I ain't changing anything guy unless it's break glass in case of emergency. Right. So with that being said, the lineup tonight reads as such. Luis Arraez leading off, playing first base. Tatis is in right. Profar's hitting third and left. Manny's at third. Merrill, Bogarts, Peralta's in there instead of Donovan Solano.
We're good with that.
Jake Cronenworth and Kyle Higashioka. So he's going with his A team. He's going with the lineup that brought him here, right? That got him here. He's not changing anything up. They're the bottom of the lineup with Peralta and Cronenworth. Lefties will play a big role in this game because 3 out of the 4, Merrill, Peralta, and Cronenworth, all lefties there. You could see some strategy going into that with what Dave Roberts uses from the bullpen. So same lineup as it was on Wednesday night. I'm honestly not surprised at all with that. Do you think that they maybe should have moved Tatis in the leadoff spot because of how well he has done this series and the postseason and at Dodger Stadium?
I know it's one of those situations where, like, you move him and then all of a sudden Arraez gets on base all these times, and it's like, well, if he was batting first and Tatis was behind him, then maybe they would stave off a couple more runs. And it's definitely a double-edged sword. I think, Arraez is slumping I know he's playing hurt, but Freddie Freeman's playing with one leg. So, like, I don't want to, if you're able to get on a baseball field, I don't want to hear about, oh, he's hurt.
Yeah. Well,
because, like, unless you're in the ER, like, and if you're playing in this game, you gotta be playing the best that you can. And it's clear how frustrated Arraez is when he popped out the center field the other day and he screamed some profanities not in English that we were able to pick up. But
I feel like the one of the keys to this game is Luis Arraez.
For sure.
Like, he has struggled this entire series, but if he can pull out a 3-for-4 night, a 3-for-5 night, I think that bodes very, very well for the Padres. The Dodgers lineup reads as such. Ohtani leading off, no surprise. He's the DH. Mookie Betts. Freddie Freeman is in the Dodger lineup tonight. I think that's to no surprise. Freddie Freeman's not going to sit out a winner go home.
He can have his
game.
Leg amputated and he's still playing.
He's going to be out there.
Is Rojas in?
Rojas is not in because he hurt his
groin, right?
His groin or something. He's not in the lineup tonight. But Teoscar Hernandez is cleaning up. Max Muncy, Will Smith, Kike Hernandez, Gavin Lux, and Tommy Edman is hitting 9th for the Dodgers. So same lineups, no surprises. Everything's pretty much the same, straight up. And let's go. Let's do this.
Which bottom of the order do you trust more? Is the Padres bottom or the Dodgers bottom?
Well, the Dodgers bottom. Well, right now, the Padres bottom of the lineup has been struggling. Jake Cronenworth, all but game 3 of this series, has had an awful postseason. He had a couple hits was it game 2? No, it was game 2. He had a couple hits. Days are running into each other.
They're all the same.
They're all the same right now. Jake's been struggling. Kyle Higashioka has kind of cooled off lately after having 3 homers there in the first, I think, 4 games of the postseason. David Peralta has done very well. No surprise he's in the lineup tonight. Donovan Solano struggled a lot towards the end of this season. Another key is the bottom of the Dodgers lineup in the 2 games that they won. I'm not saying they took over game 4, but Kike Hernandez got on. Tommy Edman got the bunt single there. When the bottom of the Dodgers lineup is getting on base and causing havoc, that's trouble.
Right, because guess who's up?
You can't do if their plan right now is to continue to pitching Ohtani straight up, you have to make sure the bottom of that lineup gets contained. Because if not, then you are going to be pitching with Ohtani with runners on base and runners in scoring position. And the dude is 16 for his last 18, dating back to the regular season with runners in scoring position. I think one of the keys is keeping the bottom of the Dodgers lineup at bay. If not, if they have another game like game 1 where they went, I think collectively 5 for 12, that to me is game over.
Yeah.
You can't navigate the lineup if the bottom half is going to be constantly getting on base and causing problems for you.
Especially with Mookie now back to what he can do, right? Like his abilities have grown the last couple of days back to where like this is the Mookie Betts that everybody who's not in the Padres camp has been waiting for in the postseason. So now all of a sudden, like you have less of a margin of error to mess with now if you're the Padres pitching staff, because like you have the bottom 3, and then Ohtani comes up, and then Mookie comes up, and then the middle of Teoscar Hernandez has been a monster as well. Like you can't give this team extra opportunities to bring those guys up, especially like you said with runners in scoring position, where Ohtani has been absolutely unstoppable.
Ohtani's had 2 good games in this series. It's no surprise the Dodgers are 2-0 in those games. Game 4, he hits the RBI single in the second inning. Why Dylan Cease was still in the game, I don't know, but we've moved on. That game's been flushed. Game 1,
Clearly.
Yes. Game 1, open base, 2 outs. Ohtani hits a 3-run homer. The 2 games they've lost, Ohtani's had big games. The 2 games they've won, Ohtani's had not so good games.
Right.
And so, I mean, it might be just as simple as that, and it's not really simple at all because it's freaking Shohei Ohtani.
But it's the games that he's frustrated early, right? It seemed like he was pretty like I've never seen an unpoised Shohei before. And then what was it, game 3? Like he was like the strike zone. Like if you're watching on TV like I was, and they have like the strike zone, like he was frustrated at balls that he missed that were called strikes.
Yeah.
Like I had never seen a visibly frustrated Shohei before, and it clearly affected his performance. If you could frustrate him early in a game like tonight, or not like a game tonight, which could be the last, like that bodes well for you as the Padres pitching staff for the rest of the game in regards to like the approach against Shohei Ohtani.
Yeah. Just the biggest game in franchise history tonight. No big deal.
No big deal.
No big deal. Kevin AC, our Padres insider, is going to join us later in the show. John is going to be joining us, not this Jonathan, but our other Jonathan. John Schaefer will be joining us live from Laramie, Wyoming. More on Game 5 coming up next here on Jon and Jim. All right, this update is brought to you by the Breeders' Cup World Championships at Del Mar, November 1st and 2nd. Dodgers, Padres tonight, Game 5, win or go home. 5:08 first pitch. Yu Darvish on the mound for the Padres against Yoshinobu Yamamoto. Winner will move on to the NLCS, and they will host the Mets for Game 1 on Sunday night. And tomorrow, Aztecs take on Wyoming in their second conference game of the season. Our pregame coverage starts at 10:30 a.m., kickoffs at 12:30 right here on San Diego Sports 760. The Breeders' Cup World Championships are coming right here to Del Mar this November 1st and 2nd. Tickets are limited, so head to breederscup.com now to secure yours before it's too late. Fine dining experiences, box seats, or general admission tickets could be yours. Visit breederscup.com today.
Jon and Jim. It's getting real up at the Ravine.
Because it's real.
Tonight, Game 5 of the NLDS. With the spot versus the Mets in the championship series on the line.
This is what we dream of as kids, right? I mean, as a little kid, this is what you want.
Let's go Padres. Plus, the Aztecs are on the road in Wyoming in more Mountain West action. Now, it's Jon and Jim.
All right, hour 2, I guess, of Jon and Jim here on what I have dubbed one of the biggest sports days in the history of this city. Might be overblowing it a little bit, but I truly believe tonight, Game 5, Padres-Dodgers, win or go home. It's only the 4th time in franchise history, Jonathan, that the Padres have played in a win or go home game. In their history, they're 3-0. So tonight, Game 4 of win or go home games in franchise history. Can they make it 4-0? The other 3, we obviously know 84 NLCS against the Cubs, Garvey home run. 2020 here at Petco against Mike Schultz Cardinals.
Yep.
And then 2022 Game 3 in New York versus the Mets. So I know it's a small sample size. Those 3 series have absolutely nothing to do with this series. But I like history, good omens, and that to me is a good history omen.
So yesterday I'm making my tofu and I'm making my brown rice.
So if you're listening, this is not John Schaefer, even though he's
I'm like John
Mr.
Schaefer
Tofu.
Jr. Yeah.
Yes, he is John Schaefer Jr. Continue.
Only instead of going to Orange Theory, I actually lift weights. No offense to Orange Theory, get your hit workouts in, man. But
Is your hip workout,
right? Yeah. I do hit workouts in between when I'm in my rest sets.
You have to keep your mobility up.
That's what it is.
Flexibility.
Stay stretched, but you can also all things can be true. Anyways, I was making my tofu, my brown rice. I was sauteing some veggies, and I heard you talk about the reasons to watch this game, and you brought out how home teams are what was it 1-15 in NLDS Game 5s?
No.
What was
close?
That? Okay,
but no.
Sorry, I told you I was a little distracted. I think marinating my tofu.
I think what the number or the stat you're looking for is no home team in the DS era since 2013 has won a home game. So the last time a home team won a home game was 2013.
In an elimination game.
Game in a DS round.
Okay, so the reason I wanted to reintroduce this to the conversation is because you're talking about another historical piece to this where the Padres are 3-0 in these situations. And I know it doesn't seem like it has anything to do with what happens in 2024, but if you look at like history repeats itself, and
I hope it does.
It's one of those sayings that is so overblown, but for whatever reason, it makes the most sense.
Because say the stat was flipped. Say the stat was in the franchise's history, this team has never won a win or go home game.
Right.
Wouldn't that make everyone freak out?
And that's what it is. It's like how we want to feel good about tonight.
Right.
So we need to find the things that validate how we want to feel.
Yeah. And that is just one little tiny stat. Kind of big stat,
It's
but
a big stat.
It's one stat in the franchise's history that I like to just look at, and then you also look at the other things, like you said. 2013 was the last time a home team won a Game 5 in the DS round, win or go home. That was the 2013 St. Louis Cardinals. And then you look at the history of the DS round. Okay. Teams in the DS round, home teams, are 14-21 in decisive Game 5s. Home teams.
Mm-hmm.
So that means road teams are 21-14. So, look, if you are scared out of your mind for tonight, I get it. I'm getting people blowing me up on social media.
I'm
being
sure.
Like, Jim, I'm nervous. Help me. Jim, I can't take this. Help me. And it's 2:06.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we still have 3 hours to go before first pitch. And baseball Jonathan, I think to me is one of the most nerve-wracking sports for postseason play because there's so much time in between pitches and there's so much time to think about things, and it happens like that. So baseball, you're just sitting there kind of waiting for something to happen, and every single pitch, every single out will be applauded like it's the biggest thing ever.
So I'm an overthinker.
I'm an overthinker as well.
I didn't want to speak on your behalf, but I think I know you well enough at this point. What is Jim's therapeutic key here to try not only just to get through the next, 3 hours almost to the moment to first pitch, but each of those moments after where it feels like you're just pulling out teeth? What do? You just take it? You just accept the fact that these are anxious moments?
Bro, here's the thing.
No amino acids.
You can't do anything.
No extra drinks, nothing.
You can't. First, I'm not a lot of people are maybe stress eaters or, chain stress smokers. Like they just got to puff out a pack real quick because they can't take it. For me, it's like, there's nothing you can do. You have to just
relinquish control,
turn the game on.
This is good, Jim.
And you just got to take it. Now, there has been moments in my sporting life where I have not taken it and I've left because I can't stomach it. And I understand that if the Padres go down like 6-0 tonight in like the 8th inning, well, are you going to like maybe watch the 9th? Maybe, but I also kind of would understand if you couldn't take it anymore. But I think going into tonight's game, the stress levels are going to be through the roof. And I mean, it could end up being one of the best games in franchise history where they end up winning. A magical moment happens. Like, how many times have we seen just this postseason, mostly from the Mets, but just this postseason,
actually from Grimace.
Yeah. Where a team was down to maybe their final out,
right,
or their final strike, or all hope seemed lost. And then boom, like that, 3-run homer, grand slam, 2-run homer, base hit. Like that's the beauty of baseball, is that you could be leading you could be up 2-0 the entire game, and you could easily lose that game because it's baseball. It's baseball. And, the things to make you feel good as a Padres fan tonight, I said these yesterday on the show, and I'll just reiterate them because I think if you are one of those Padres fans that's looking for something to grab onto, like, give me hope, please just give me hope, right? We've said the record of road teams on the road in a decisive game 5 in the DS round, 21-14. Darvish, who's pitching tonight, his career numbers against the Dodgers, very good. 7-5, 2.35 ERA, 114 strikeouts, and 17 career appearances in the regular season and the postseason. Also, Darvish in the postseason for the Padres has been incredible. He has a low 2 ERA. I don't have the exact number in front of me, but he pitched game 1 versus the Mets in 2022. If you remember, he went 7 innings, 1 earned run.
Oh, yeah.
And then I think it was 2 against the Dodgers at Dodger Stadium. If you remember, the Padres won that game. He didn't pitch great, but he pitched well enough. They won that game. Then in the NLCS, game 1 against the Phillies, that was the Kyle Schwarber home run game.
Oh, yeah.
Where he hit it like 700 feet.
Yep.
Darvish was incredible that game. I was there. He went 7, and the only run he gave up, the only run that was allowed that game was the Kyle Schwarber home run. And then he pitched in game 5 of that series at Philadelphia. Padres had a lead in that game late. Obviously, we remember what happened with Harper and Suarez. And then you have game 2 versus the Dodgers here last Sunday, 7 innings, 1
incredible.
Run. So look, Darvish has been by far and away this team's best postseason pitcher of anybody they've had on the roster. Better than Joe. He was better than Blake Snell. He's been better than Michael King. Way better than Dylan Cease. He's been their best pitcher. There's nobody who you would want to have on the mound than Darvish. And then Fernando Tatis Jr. in his career, he owns Dodger Stadium. He has 14 career home runs against the Dodgers.
2 last weekend.
He is on fire. He's having one of the best postseasons that you can remember for any player in franchise history and any player in baseball. So there's that. And I just am looking at all the numbers here for this team on the road. Oh yeah, they're the best road team in the National League. So, I mean, there's a lot of things that I could look positively for the Padres, and that's what I'm deciding to do. Am I going to look at the fact they haven't scored a run in the last 16 innings? No. Am I going to look at the fact that against bullpens in the postseason, this team is hitting 163 and only scored 7 runs? No. Am I going to look at the fact that they're on the road in a game 5? No. I'm gonna pick and choose the numbers I want to pick and choose and make myself feel good.
I can hear the spiral that somebody's going down. I didn't know all that stuff, and all of a sudden, after all the good, Jim, why'd you have to? But the truth is like there's a winner mentality and a loser mentality, and that has all preceded the actual result of these games. And you're choosing the winner mentality of like, look, like we could sit here, and this is a great piece of life advice. We could sit here and catastrophize this game, but you know what? Also, those negative numbers tell me, Jim, is that they're due. Like how many innings?
Like Luis Ariz has done absolutely nothing this series. Manny Machado has not had a good series. Jake Cronenworth is completely MIA. You're right. A couple of these guys are really, really due.
And at the end, and it's the good guy. And the foundational pieces, the pieces that got him here still exist. So you take that and you couple it with the fact that these guys are due for huge nights tonight, and Manny Machado plays pretty damn good in big games, man. Like when the season's on the line, I want to see the antics for Manny tonight. Like I don't care. Like don't get thrown out of the game, but maybe don't delay the game, because like if they're down like 6-3, I don't know if I want to sit through another 20 minutes of that score. But like do what you can to maintain the disruption that you've done in this series that has been like the ire of Dodgers and Dodger fans alike, because that has allowed this team to continue to grow together around that and succeed. So like all of those little things, the history, the numbers, and just what they have shown us this season should culminate here tonight at Dodger Stadium.
And the crazy part about it is none of those numbers could even matter tonight.
Also true.
You know what I mean? Because it's baseball. Like this team could lose 6-0. Darvish could have a horrible outing. Fernando Tatis Jr. can go 0 for 4 with 4 strikeouts. Like that is the beauty and the most frustrating part about this game, is that a lot of the times some of these numbers just don't mean anything.
Nope.
And it's frustrating, but going into this game, I'm just deciding to look at those numbers and saying, all right, I like that. I feel good. I'm nervous as hell, but at the same time, I have something to fall back on. And by the way, one last thing on like good omens, because I love a good omen. I'll eat up a good omen. Give it to me.
Do it.
Social media last night. Did you see what happened at Dodger Stadium during the Padres workout?
No, I did not.
So during the Padres on-field workout, Luis Ariz found a praying mantis on the field at Dodger Stadium.
No way.
He found a praying mantis.
Good luck.
He named it Luigi. It's in the clubhouse with them. I don't know if it's going to be in the dugout with them tonight. But to your point, looking here on Google, in most cultures, the praying mantis is generally understood to mean good fortune, blessing, and divine protection. I'm just saying, guys. I have
chills.
I'm just saying.
Like, is that the spirit of Peter Seidler?
Hey, it's
speaking to the Padres.
It's the rally mantis, in my opinion. And if they lose tonight, then I'd never want to see a praying mantis ever
really quickly
again.
Before we go to break, between now and first pitch, nobody make any song about this praying mantis, please. Like, I know that the goose sparked some weird like musical, period. Like no songs, no praying mantis songs, no songs about beating anybody. Let's just let it be.
We've been actually fairly good on that.
Yeah,
no poems, Ernie.
You just no slam poetry about tonight's game, please.
We've been feeling pretty good about all that. All right, coming up, Kevin Acee still set to join us at 3:30 from Dodger Stadium. John Schaefer is going to be joining us live from Laramie, Wyoming. But strategy-wise for this game, Jonathan, Michael King, will he be used or will he not be used? Mike Schilt talked about that strategy yesterday. We'll hear from Mike Schilt coming up next. All right, San Diego Sports 760 is giving you a chance all week to win a 4-pack of tickets to San Diego's largest nighttime Halloween event, SeaWorld's Hallow Scream, going on now through November 2nd. 5 terror-filled houses, new scare zone and haunts, and death-defying drops with rides after dark, themed food and bars, and the master of ceremonies when all the creatures get released the night you won't dare venture alone. For more information, visit www.seaworldsandiego.com.
Not scarier than Dodger Stadium tonight.
Yeah, I have no worries or
The knives of SeaWorld will be fake.
yeah. I have no worries about Dodger Stadium tonight as far as like on-field stuff goes.
No.
In the stands, that's a whole different story. Parking lot,
Parking lot, super scary.
Will be a disaster if the Dodgers lose tonight, and even regardless of the outcome, it will be a absolute disaster. But I feel like as far as throwing stuff on the field, and I saw somewhere, I don't know where this narrative came up. It's like, should the Padres just say they don't want to play at Dodger Stadium because they're scared for their well-being on the field? I'm like, guys, stop.
Bro, did you not see them win 10-2 and
stop.
not really care that much?
You
What are we doing here?
You had rogue Dodger fans being idiots, throwing stuff on the field. That happens not everywhere, but it does happen in other fan bases as well. Philadelphia to be exact, but I don't have any issues tonight. I think that this Padres team, if they can get out to an early lead, they're going to feed off of the negativity from the crowd, in my opinion, because I think they love that. I think that they love, one, shutting up a crowd, and two, being in a hostile environment, us versus the world mentality.
Yeah, there are those of us who respond well to like positive reinforcement, and there are those of us who respond well to negative reinforcement. And I think this team has proven that they thrive.
Slight them.
They thrive in negativity.
Slight them. Okay, so tonight, Darvish will be starting. We don't know how long he's going to go. Obviously, the leash will be extremely short because it's a win or go home game. The question about Michael King, he pitched on Tuesday. Technically, today would be his bullpen day, if I have that right. Either today or tomorrow.
I think it'd be today.
Would it be today? Okay. Today or tomorrow. Anyway.
In the postseason, it's today.
Today, yeah. And if you're looking at the Padres bullpen, there's 3 guys that will 100% pitch tonight. Adam, Scott, and Suarez. The others, Morahone and Estrada, they pitched a lot, especially Estrada. Will Michael King be used out of this bullpen to bridge the gap between Darvish to the back end of the bullpen? Mike Schultz talked about that strategy yesterday during his press conference.
This game being what it is, a winner-take-all, Game 5, would Michael King be available in relief potentially?
I mean, we never say never. I leave it at that.
You've obviously had a lot of success drawing your lineup the way it's been drawn up. There are some lanes for left and right if they were to go to a bullpen game. Given how much success you've had with that lineup the way it's been, is that something you would consider tweaking for a single game, or are you just sticking kind of with what got you here?
We'll announce the lineup tomorrow. So that's all I can tell you about the lineup. I mean, the question's fair. We actually have a lineup that, I mean, there's going to be, if you got righties and lefties, there's going to be lanes. We've been able to create a lineup that has been able to put our guys in a good position with those lanes. No lineup is foolproof from a lane.
Bob standing up on the left.
Mike, do you know who they're starting tomorrow, or you get a feeling that you know who will be?
No, I flipped them coins and I couldn't get the answer. I don't know, Bob. Somebody's going to show up and we'll be ready for them.
That would be Yoshinobu Yamamoto. That was announced late last night. Again, I know the Dodgers have done some gamesmanship in this series with having Freddie Freeman in the lineup the other day and then scratching him like an hour before first pitch. I'm going to have to see Yamamoto on the mound tonight to start the game to really believe that Yamamoto's starting this game.
You think it could be like a last second, maybe, but don't they have to get their official lineups in like 5 hours before first pitch or something?
They already have, but you can scratch a guy,
but there has to be cause.
You can change.
There doesn't. All right.
You can do whatever you want,
dude. I don't like. Are you really going to mess? You're not only messing with the Padres in that sense. If you're doing that,
they know their strategy. They're not telling anybody. They know. They probably talk. I'm just thinking to myself out loud.
What would you
Is
do
Yam-
if you were them?
I-
I hate this game, but
Oh, I would go bullpen day.
Yeah.
I'm looking at Yamamoto's numbers against the Padres and lifetime. I'm not starting him. I mean, maybe it works out for them, but I just am seeing what's happened in this series, how the Padres have feasted off of starters, and they have been awful against the bullpen. So we'll see. But as of right now, Yamamoto will start tonight for the Dodgers. Michael King, we'll talk about the strategies to use Michael King potentially in this game. Coming up next, Kevin Acey will also join the show, and John will join the show later as well. More Jon and Jim coming up next.
The Dennis Lynn Report is brought to you by 90 Barrel East Village, the go-to spot for sports fans since 2011. Dennis, I guess kudos to the Dodgers for announcing their Game 5 starter a day before the game rather than hours before first pitch. But how much are the Padres preparing for a bullpen game, even though Yoshinobu Yamamoto has been announced?
Yeah, it's all hands all hands on deck kind of series, and all hands on deck Game 5, obviously. So I think the Padres were prepared either way. Dave Roberts did say, before the game yesterday, to his credit, if you want to call it credit, that Yamamoto was probably going to be involved in some regard, and I think the Padres figured on that because the Dodgers would run out of innings if they were not going to pitch, Yamamoto or Jack Flaherty, who could also appear in this game at some point. So Padres have seen a lot of these guys, and they obviously saw the Dodgers, the bullpen, kind of shut them down over the past 12 innings, 15 overall if you include Dodgers starters. So Padres have to be prepared for anything. It's just a matter of, in this case, trying to put up as many runs as on Yamamoto as possible, which they've done because that bullpen again has given them a lot of trouble.
And Darvish was, of course, brilliant for the Padres on Sunday. I'm sure they're hoping they give the same sort of effort today. But if not, there's any early struggles at all, what's the Padres' plan behind Darvish?
Yeah, it's there's not a lot of secret about it, I don't think, unless Michael King, who was kind of lobbying yesterday to be available in the bullpen, is coming out of that bullpen. I think you're just going to see guys like Adrian Morejon or Jeremiah Estrada coming in. And the Padres making full use of that bullpen, but obviously having Darvish on regular rest, and after he went 7 innings in Game 2, they're hopeful that he gives them at least a good solid 4 or 5 innings. One thing to note though is I know this gets a little nerdy right here, but his expected stats in Game 2 were not great. So that indicates he got maybe a little bit lucky, but you still have to give him credit for going out there, especially with that heated environment in Game 2 and really kind of locking it down.
Last thing, Dennis, Xander Bogaerts is always very candid in his interviews. And when we talked to him on Tuesday, he seemed to indicate the Padres were kind of shell-shocked to be playing a game 5 in Los Angeles. I mean, I'm sure they expect to close it out in San Diego. What was the demeanor like yesterday at Dodger Stadium?
It seemed very loose, as you would expect from this group. Yeah, it was kind of interesting, kind of the reverse of spring training, where they worked out early in the morning, they worked out, at night under the lights at Dodger Stadium. Everyone seemed, fairly calm, and they've been in a lot of tough situations this year, and they've been in places where they got in at 3 a.m. on the road, and after flying across the country, and they play the next day and won. They've obviously played well on the road this year, including at Dodger Stadium. So I think there's a lot of confidence for them. But that said, Xander Bogaerts did also note that maybe they were trying to do a little too much in Game 4. So it's their backs are against the wall. So are the Dodgers, so to speak. So should be a fun Game 5, I think, all around.
All right, this update is brought to you by the Breeders' Cup World Championships at Del Mar, November 1st and 2nd. Winner go home. Game 5 tonight at Dodger Stadium. 5:08 first pitch. Yu Darvish on the mound. Start for the Padres against Yoshinobu Yamamoto. Winner will move on to the NLCS to host the Mets this Sunday night. And tomorrow, Aztecs take on Wyoming in their second conference game of the season. Our pregame starts at 10:30 a.m. Kickoff at 12:30 right here on San Diego Sports 760. The Breeders' Cup World Championships are coming right here to Del Mar this November 1st and 2nd. Tickets are limited, so head to breederscup.com now to secure yours before it's too late. Fine dining experiences, box seats, or general admission tickets could be yours. Visit breedercup.com today. All right, back here on Jim and John today. It's Jonathan stepping in for John. John's on his way to Wyoming. Aztecs take on Wyoming tomorrow in their second conference game of the season, 10:30 a.m. pregame, 12:30 kickoff right here on San Diego Sports 760. Before the break, Jonathan, we heard from Mike Schultz there talking very vaguely. He didn't answer really any questions about
shocking
the possibilities of seeing Michael King in this game. What do you think the odds are that we see Michael King tonight if Yu Darvish doesn't rip off like 5 or 6 good innings tonight?
Like 90%. Like,
really?
So confirmed tonight would have been his bullpen game anyways.
Okay.
So like,
makes sense.
Yeah. So like you put him out there in live action and you're actually doing him a service nonetheless, but like this team needs him. He has bullpen experience when he was with the Yankees.
Yeah.
He's largely been very good. I know what happened the other day happened, but like whatever.
It was 1 inning.
Yep.
And he then proceeded to strike out.
He was
great.
great.
Not strike out, but retire 8 in a row after that. When he could have easily fallen apart after the grand slam, and he did not. So I think when you look at his outing on Tuesday, you look at the final line, 5 innings, 5 runs, gives up a grand slam. A regular season start, it's not a good start. Postseason start, keep your team in the game, leave with the lead. It's a good start.
Do you only bring him in though if you're down? Like if the Padres are up like 4-2 in the 5th inning, and Darvish is still pitching well, but it's like we need to get to our bullpen sooner rather than later because we could see the wheels falling off. Mm-hmm. We speaking as the coaching staff, do you bring it like you said? Do you bring him in to bridge the gap even though you're up, or do you ride Darvish, until the 6th if you can, and get to the back of that bullpen?
The entire game tonight is, can you have the lead getting to the back end of your bullpen? You have to get to Adam, Scott, and Suarez. I think those 3 guys could pitch multiple innings. I think they could each give you 4 outs. So if you're looking at it, you get
12 outs.
12 outs there. Maybe not 12 outs because they might view Scott as a guy that's more situational, especially against Ohtani.
It's like 10 outs.
Because the other night they took him out against Mookie. They brought in Suarez for a 4-out save against Mookie. But I think where the lineup is, you're going to see those guys potentially for more than 3 outs. So how are you going to get there? If Darvish isn't going to give you 6, which in an elimination game, it's a lot to ask. I know that Joe Musgrove 2 years ago had an incredible 7-inning performance up against the Mets in New York, but you can't bank on that. You have to play it out by out. And if Yu Darvish is only going to give you, say, 4 2/3, even if you don't have the lead, even if you're trailing by a run or it's still a scoreless game, I think that the odds of us seeing Michael King try to bridge that gap are fairly high.
Mm-hmm.
Not only because Michael King has experience coming out of the bullpen, not only because he's had an amazing season. This Dodgers team has seen now Jeremiah Estrada a lot. And Jeremiah Estrada is the guy that bridges that gap. Do you want to have Jeremiah Estrada, who did not have a good outing in game 1 at Dodger Stadium? Do you want him in there in a decisive game 5, win or go home, if you're trailing by a run or even up by a run? That's going to be the question. Are you going to go with Estrada or are you going to go with Michael King?
Do you have, all things even playing field, let's just even take the numbers, the analytics out of it. You, Jim Russell, do you have more faith in Michael King or in Jeremiah Estrada?
Well, it's a good question. I mean, look, it's an all hands on deck type of situation. I think At home, I would feel confident with Jeremiah Estrada. On the road, I don't think so. I don't know. I think if I'm going down with my best. And I mean, Jeremiah Estrada's had a fantastic year. Michael King's been one of their best pitchers. I might, and also knowing that he has come out of the bullpen before, he has been a bullpen arm for a majority of his career up until this season. Michael King feels like that's a guy that they could go to in this game. You know, the Dodgers are going to be doing the same thing potentially. Like, I don't know if they're going to have Flaherty come out of the bullpen. I'd be kind of surprised at that, but I wouldn't, because
you're playing to win.
Everything is on the table tonight, and screw game 1 for the NLCS on Sunday. I don't care about that right now. All I care about is that they're in the game on Sunday. Who starts on Sunday? If it's Martin Perez, okay, that means that they won tonight.
None of that matters if they lose anyways.
None of it matters.
Who cares?
You can't be like, oh, we're saving Michael King for game 1. You got to get to game 1.
Yep.
And if you don't get to game 1, then what's the point? So I think there's a good chance we see Michael King tonight. It's just about where you're going to deploy him and what's the game at? Are you ahead? Are you behind? Is it tied? But yeah, I think Michael King very well could see some action in this game.
Yeah, if you need consistency for 2 to 3 innings to bridge the gap from Darvish to Adams, then you do it. You just have to. I don't know. No offense to Estrada, he had the really good stretch where he was the national hero. Mm-hmm. But man, game 5 against the Dodgers.
Yeah,
Michael King's the guy. He's got to be the guy coming out of that bullpen.
And getting to the back end of the bullpen is going to be the key as well. And we haven't seen Robert Suarez at Dodger Stadium since the triple play. So since the triple play, he's been really good.
Mm-hmm.
In the postseason this year, Robert Suarez has been really good. But if Robert Suarez is in this game, one, I think that's a good sign, because it's either a close game or you're ahead, and it's late in game. But the confidence of Robert Suarez, are you, after these last couple of games, do you feel like the confidence is back with him, or do you still feel like, uh-oh?
My confidence has never been shaken, but he's a human being, man. He showed up for a couple of rough days at work. His sample size is large enough, and he has been successful enough, in my opinion. And those of you out there might disagree with me. You might disagree with me. I don't know. You're harder on these players than I am. But
well, I actually feel what we saw from Robert Suarez the other night in game 3 was the best Robert Suarez has looked in 2 months.
And I expected him to get back to that point. I had never a shadow of a doubt that this guy, it's not like he regressed forever. He regressed because he's a human being playing in a high profile, in a high pressure situation.
Mm-hmm.
But he's been so good for so long. There's no reason for me not to believe that he wasn't going to get back to that form like we saw in game 3. And yeah, if he strides out there tonight at Dodger Stadium and they're holding a lead 1, 2, 3 runs, I'm going to have all the faith in the world for him to close it out.
Well, you take that in a second now. I mean, you tell me right now, all right, game 5, 9th inning, Padres 1-run lead, Robert Suarez on the mound. Yeah, everybody will be throwing up everywhere. But at the same time, I would take that
over 99.9%. Yeah.
Any day of the week. You tell me that this team has a 1-run lead in the 9th inning of a decisive game 5 at Dodger Stadium with Robert Suarez on the mound. Yeah, everybody will be losing their minds and pacing and on the verge of vomiting. But
so you mean you're going to be pacing and losing your mind and on the verge of vomiting?
Yeah, I
can see you sweating already.
Well, look, there is no team in any professional sport, Jonathan, that I hate more than the Dodgers. None. The Dodgers are the team that I absolutely despise.
Mm-hmm.
I don't hate a football team like I hate the Dodgers. I don't hate a basketball team. I don't even hate the Lakers like I hate the Dodgers. The Dodgers are my Thanos. I despise them.
Which hero are you in this situation?
Well, of course I'm Iron Man.
Of course you are. You would sacrifice yourself for the betterment of humanity.
Of course I would.
I think I like Thanos more than the Dodgers, though.
Well, Thanos actually was a good character. He was
he added value to our lives, even if he was, a villain.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
So again, I mean, it's a situation tonight. Strategy will be heavily in play. This is a chess match from the very first pitch tonight. Which manager will prevail? That is a good question. Dave Roberts, Mike Schilt. We'll talk about which manager has the edge coming up. Also, Kevin Acee. He'll join us today, 3:30 live from Dodger Stadium. John's going to join us as well from Wyoming to get you ready for Game 5, Padres Dodgers tonight. Stay with us. It's Jon and Jim. San Diego Sports 760 has an NFL doubleheader on Sunday, starting with the Browns and Eagles at 9:30 a.m. And the Steelers travel to Vegas to take on the Raiders at 1:05. Hopefully, later that night will be NLCS Game 1 here at Petco Park, but you got to get through tonight. Game 5, winner go home at Dodger Stadium. John, I don't know if you saw this, Jonathan, but I know you're caught up with the whole Ken Rosenthal stuff and his article and essentially getting banned from the Padres dugout.
Can I look into my crystal ball and you're going to bring up Tom Verducci?
I am going to bring up Tom Verducci because reports are that Tom Verducci, who was on the Phillies-Mets sideline, is coming in for tonight's Game 5 at Dodger Stadium. Conspiracy theorists, if you want, which I will be one of those, will say, I think the Padres are still kind of upset with Ken Rosenthal, rightfully so. And in such a crucial Game 5, if the Padres win, on the field, you're going to have somebody interviewing these guys as they celebrate. And it can't be Ken Rosenthal because they're not talking to Ken during post-game interviews on the television side. In the clubhouse, I think it was Game 3, I think. Game 3.
Mm-hmm.
Rosenthal was in the Padres clubhouse. He asked some questions. I saw Luis Ariz there. He was answering Luis Ariz, but he did ask a question to Jurickson Profar. I don't know if you saw this, and Profar kind of shrugged him off and was like, yeah, I'm not talking to you. So I am viewing this as, I wonder what dugout Tom Verducci will be in tonight. And also they brought him in because of the possibility that if the Padres win, Verducci is going to be interviewing everybody.
Well, we saw what happened when Joe Davis asked Fernando Tatis Jr. a question too the other day, right after the game when they were interviewing post game, and he pretended like he didn't hear him, all that stuff. So like when you have a Dodger guy, play-by-play guy who's interviewing Padre players, and you have a guy who's wrote a hit piece on the captain and one of the faces of this team interviewing players. Yeah. And like the Padres have every right not to want those guys around them. Like they have one mission, and Ken Rosenthal has been a disruptor to that mission in a way that I don't think has been particularly fair to the Padres. Yeah. So why would you give him the time of day? So, Tom Verducci, I think, has largely been pretty good. We've had him on the station a ton, and he's been fantastic to talk to. So
Ken's been on the station as well. Like, I don't have a problem with Ken writing.
If you had him on today, what would you exactly? Right. That's the difference.
Well, I would just ask him, like, what were you thinking? Like, when you write an article, you can write whatever you want. I didn't agree with the piece. I thought the piece was actually, it was bordering some really, really bad tones in that article when you calling players dancing peacocks, and like I just thought he went too far with some things he said. Like, you can write whatever you want, but the fact that he wrote that while covering the series, he should not be surprised one bit that
he's getting essentially blackballed from the team.
Exactly.
Right.
You if the producers are upset or if you're upset, guess what? You did that to yourself. And I would bet that there are some producers like, what were you thinking, dude? Like, what were you thinking?
Because now we have to pay Tom Verducci to fly out, and like everything's about money, right? And he's costing the organization even more money. But also like the Athletic, and I guess in this case also Fox, loses credibility with the Padres. Like, they want to maintain a good standing with all 30 Major League Baseball teams, the managers, the players, and like Ken is putting that into peril here by writing an article at the worst possible time to write an article like that.
I don't understand it at all. I still don't. But interesting how Tom Verducci will be at Game 5 tonight. And I'm sure you'll hear probably from like Fox people like, well, he's got to be here anyway because
it's Game 5. It's a huge game. We need extra coverage.
Also, Game 1 will be in California at Dodger Stadium or here at Petco Park. So they're already coming here anyway. So, I mean, what's the big deal?
You buying it?
I'm not buying it one bit. I am not buying it one bit because Game 3 here at Petco, Ken wasn't even close to the Padres. They had to do post-game interviews with Joe Davis and John Smoltz. He didn't step foot inside that Padres dugout. He hasn't interviewed Mike Shildt during the game at all. He didn't interview Mike Shildt during the game for Game 4 as well.
Which, by the way, really quickly, Schultz probably like these in-game interviews are so unengaging. Like
They're
Schultz is
unengaging.
probably okay that he's not getting an in-game interview right now.
Well, I think Schulte is also saying, yeah, I'm not doing one with you. Like,
Right.
I'm not doing it. We are as a team saying, like, no, you decided to write that piece, which was to me kind of a hit piece. And so you have to face the consequences.
Mm-hmm.
And Fox has to face the consequences. And sorry, but you're not allowed over here.
Actions have consequences.
Yes. And tonight for Game 5, producers for Fox guarantee you said, we have to have coverage from both dugouts. We have to. It cannot just be a Dave Roberts, Dodgers, hyper-focused, interview-centric broadcast. Like, we have to have perspective from both dugouts because of the chances that the Padres win tonight. You have to. And if there are big moments in the game with the Padres making a move to Michael King, and it's during one of the pregame or the in-game hits for Fox, they're going to want to ask Mike Schilt, what's your thinking of going to Michael King here? So I view it as you can't throw this one past us. We know what's happening here. Ken Rosenthal, even though AC reported it was just a one-game boycott, feels like more than a one-game boycott.
Mm-hmm.
And they're going to have issues going forward. If the Padres get past the Dodgers here, which I hope they do, in the NLCS, I don't think Ken's going to be anywhere near that Padres dugout either.
No, I think that Tom might be here for the long time. I mean, like he was going to be here anyways.
He was going to be here anyway for the NLCS.
His role might be changing a tad if it is the Padres who move on here.
Well, one thing too to think of is once we get down to less teams, they might have one reporter, one sideline guy for each club, kind of like how they do in the NFL in the playoffs.
Well,
So
and
you could just tell him, you stay the hell away from
it's
the
just not going to be Ken on that Padres side no matter what.
No, NLCS, they were already going to have two people. They're already going to have Ken. They're already going to have Tom Ferducci. But yeah, Game 5 tonight, they needed the Padres perspective, I feel like. And they said, look, Ken, Tom, you're already going to be here. We need you to come tonight. We need you to come. So that'll be interesting to see. We'll actually hear from the Padres today during the broadcast.
Oh, I'm excited.
Yeah. So
I can't wait to hear Schulte in the 5th inning, breaking down the pitching matchup.
Kevin AC will join us at 3:30 live from Dodger Stadium. John is texting me right now telling me I'm an idiot, but he's going to join us later in the show. It's Jim and Jonathan today. More Game 5, Kevin AC, all that coming up next. All right, this update is brought to you by the Breeders' Cup World Championships at Del Mar, November 1st and 2nd. We're just 2 hours away from first pitch at Dodgers Stadium. Game 5, winner go home. Yu Darvish on the mound for the Padres against Yoshinobu Yamamoto. Of course, the winner moves on to the NLCS, where they will host the Mets starting on Sunday. And tomorrow, the Aztecs take on Wyoming. It's their second conference game of the year. Our pregame starts at 10:30 a.m. Kickoff is at 12:30 right here on San Diego Sports 760. The Breeders' Cup World Championships are coming right here to Del Mar this November 1st and 2nd. Tickets are limited, so head to breederscup.com now to secure yours before it's too late. Fine dining experiences, box seats, or general admission tickets could be yours. Visit breederscup.com today.
Jon and Jim. It's getting real up at the Ravine.
Because it's real.
Tonight, Game 5 of the NLCS. With the spot versus the Mets in the championship series on the line.
This is what we dream of as kids, right? I mean, as a little kid, this is what you want.
Let's go Padres. Plus, the Aztecs are on the road in Wyoming in more Mountain West action. Now, it's Jon and Jim.
All right, Jon and Jim on a Friday, Game 5, 2 hours away from first pitch at Dodger Stadium. Yamamoto against Darvish. First time they've ever faced each other in a game in Major League Baseball. We were talking during the break. This is like Marty's dream matchup.
She scripted this game.
She wanted this matchup. She wanted it at Game 2, but now you get it Game 5. The stakes are much higher. We mentioned at the start of today's show, Jonathan, I believe that this game tonight is one of, and I think you can argue, the biggest games in franchise history. It's not to win a World Series. I understand that. That will then become the biggest game in franchise history. It's not a Game 7. Padres have never played a Game 7 in the franchise. But with what's at stake, with who the opponent is, with where the game's at, with what's on the line, like, I mean, I'm thinking about it and kind of getting chills because Padres be the best rivalry in baseball right now. Not like history wise, but right now today, Dodgers Padres is the best rivalry in baseball. You couldn't ask for anything more. You literally could not ask for anything more, especially if you're just a innocent bystander baseball fan. A winner go home game between these two teams with these two pitchers on the mound. Ohtani's involved. Manny Machado, Fernando Tatis Jr. Like, dude, that's F and go.
It's F and go San Diego. That's the thing too. At the end of the day, right? Is like there's more on the line for this city than just like winning and moving on to the NLCS.
Oh,
that's
dude,
what matters.
We don't have here in San Diego the NFL. We don't have the NBA. We don't have the NHL. So it's hard for this city to just be like, okay, well, it's football season. Like in Philadelphia right now, everyone hates the Phillies. But guess what? It's Eagles season.
Exactly.
And you move on. And
the Sixers are going to start playing soon.
The Sixers will start playing here soon. So the time to be upset with the Phillies for what they did and be upset about their results only lasts for a brief moment in time. If the Padres lose tonight,
March,
I don't feel like it's
maybe later than March.
It's going to be like a hatred. It will be a lot of sadness.
It's going to be pain.
It's going to be pain.
Yeah.
It will be disappointment. I don't think it will be considered a disappointing season, but I do think it will be considered absolutely a disappointing, painful ending.
And it's going to last for a long time.
And it won't just last until the start of next year. It will last through next season, up until the postseason, up until if these teams meet again, that next matchup.
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, it is tonight. I'm not trying to make this like crazy bigger than it already needs to be because it's massive. But like you lose tonight, this one's going to sting. It's going to sting a lot.
Yeah, there's going to be some grief felt, I think. You know, like this is a marriage right now. Like this city is married to the Padres. And it's a more connected relationship, I think, than we've seen in a very long time. I know 2022 was fun.
You had it in 2022.
But it feels like this is even deeper because of Peter Seidler.
You're right about that. Peter's playing a big role in this entire season. The difference between also just on the field, right? This is off the field stuff. On the field, 2022, I think going into that postseason, 89 wins, anybody truthfully thinking of themselves, yeah, as the World Series team?
No.
They thought, hey, make some noise. This team can make a run. It got it to a special moment in Game 4 here at Petco Park, and then the belief was like, oh my God, we have home field in the NLCS. This is a real possibility. It came on to you very quickly, the possibility of that team maybe winning a World Series or getting to a World Series. The thought of this team being a World Series contender, going to a World Series, winning a World Series started last week. And it truthfully started probably a month ago, maybe 2 months ago when the trade deadline happened. Like, oh my gosh, this team has maybe its best shot with the landscape of baseball, no dominant team. This team might have the best shot to win a World Series. That's why tonight, if they lose, that's why it would feel like even worse. Like this was one of the best shots they've had ever. And to not just, reach an NLCS or not even reach a World Series, that's why it would feel so devastating.
Right, because it's not like they just got hot out of the blue and all of us are like, our dopamine
like the Tigers, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Or like Diamondbacks last year. Even,
what the hell? 84
right,
wins?
Like this doesn't feel like we didn't see it coming. Like this has been a commitment between the baseball team and its fan base, like you said, since the trade deadline, where they've been the best team in baseball.
Mm-hmm. They've been one of the best teams in baseball. I think the Mets might have the better record now, and they're hot. Exactly. But still, I mean, in the National League, the Padres have been the best team in the National League in the second half. So, yeah, we are now officially 2 hours out from first pitch at Dodger Stadium. The teams have already arrived. They're getting ready to get on the field, do some batting practice before tonight's game.
We have a texter, a 760 Jim, who said, I would argue that the Padres-Dodgers isn't the best rivalry in baseball. I'd say it's the best rivalry in all of sports at this time. Name one better. That's a juicy take.
Question.
That's a juicy take.
It's a good question.
Yeah.
I off the top of my head, I'm not going to put college in there because college is completely different. But
Ohio
just from
State, Oregon. No, I'm kidding.
Just from like a pro level, right? I mean, NFL, you have some pretty heated rivalries.
Can I bring
Cowboys,
soccer
Giants.
into the mix, or is that a no-no?
No, it's no.
Immediately, Brent starts shaking his head.
I'll dump you.
No, I don't want to go that far. I don't want to say it's the best rivalry in all the sports, but I will say definitively it's the best rivalry in baseball.
Oh,
right
for
now.
sure. Not even close.
No, not even close. Yeah. And it starts to get to this point. You have to have history, and there is history here with 2020, even though that was a Mickey Mouse fake season, and then 2022. And then this year, the what's happened over the last 5 seasons has turned this into the best rivalry in baseball. Do you have something, Brent? No?
Well, I was going to say, it helps that both the teams are actually good.
Right, yeah.
The Red Sox kind of suck this year, so Yankees-Red Sox doesn't really mean anything as much.
Wait, you didn't think Cubs-White Sox was riveting?
Cubs-White Sox hasn't been riveting in like a decade.
Cubs or White Sox Angels is pretty
Not
good
since
rivalry
Michael
this year.
Incredible.
Not since Michael Barrett got knocked out by Brzezinski.
Yeah, so a lot on the line tonight, more than just advancing to the NLCS, in my opinion. Like, it goes past the field. It goes to the fans. It goes to just the sport in general. I mean, the sport wants Ohtani and they want the Dodgers to go in, but also I think the Padres like turning the page and passing the torch to a team that has all of the pieces that is needed for a World Series contender and a World Series championship team. Like this today could change a lot of things. Like look at this. If the Dodgers lose tonight, Dave Roberts coming back?
So I'm glad you brought that question up. This is something now. I spent way too much time in Los Angeles in the last couple of weeks calling games and wreaking havoc. Actually, it was wreaking havoc on me. Actually,
you're like the person that goes to Vegas. You're like, Vegas ain't ready for me, and then Vegas is like, bro, we're ready for a 26-year-old kid.
I'm at like one slot and drinking like iced water the entire time.
Vegas ain't ready for me, bro. It's like we've seen this before. Okay?
No, but like one of the conversations I asked. Unfortunately, I know a few. As you do, as all of us do, we know God annoying Dodger fans.
Yeah.
And you ask them, and it seems like there's this collective agreement that Dave Roberts will not be fired because at the end of the day, he answers to Andrew Friedman. And it's like anything that Friedman says is what Roberts will do. He's not really like the sentient manager that the organization tries to make him out to be. So because of that, like maybe heads probably need a role. But if you're not necessarily the main decision maker, which it doesn't seem like Dave Roberts has been, it seems to me that there's a consensus amongst Dodger fans and some media members alike that Roberts' job is safe regardless. I would fire his ass, to be honest with you.
I mean, honestly though, if
you want right? Okay,
if there was a situation. Is capitalize on it. I mean, I'm giving him like a 5-year contract extension, honestly. Like
anything to help the Padres. Give him lifetime extension up there.
Because if it's one of those things where in sports, sometimes if you change the coach, it kind of unlocks everything, or change the manager.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little different in baseball. There's not like, I mean, baseball wise, the strategy is mostly bullpen wise.
It worked for the Padres this year.
It worked for the Padres this year. But also, I mean, look, it
worked for the Cubs too that year. They won the World Series.
It worked for the Cubs. So yeah, changing managers sometimes kind of unlocks things. And Dave Roberts, if they lose again here, 3rd straight year in the DS when they've had the best record in baseball, the only World Series they have with Dave Roberts is the fake 2020 or fake 2020 year. I just, from a Dodgers perspective, how could you continue this? I know you've had injuries, but like, as Mike Schultz said, winners find solutions and losers make excuses.
Look, I've been saying it for days. Somebody's going to have to take the blame and be the scapegoat for it. And we know it's not going to be Ohtani or Freddie Freeman or anybody else that, may be struggling in the postseason. So it's going to be Dave Roberts because he's been captaining the ship for the past, 4 seasons where they've been bounced every year when they were supposed to win the World Series.
Yeah, they have been the best team in baseball.
Regular
season wise for most of Dave Roberts.
It's like Clayton Kershaw's like spread to the rest of the team through osmosis.
Right. Yeah. That was another big thing is like, man, advantage Dodgers to have Kershaw out this series. That was a big advantage for them.
Huge. I know they really boosted their chances with that one.
Exactly. So we are just a couple hours away from first pitch. Kevin Acee is going to join us at 3:30 from Dodger Stadium. We'll ask him about, I think, the vibe of, is this the biggest game in his opinion? The chances of seeing Michael King, the strategy that goes into this game. But straight up right now, Jonathan, there's really no surprises going into this game, starting pitchers wise and in the lineup.
How do you approach Ohtani? I know you guys talked about it yesterday. I want to bring back up this. I know we're at the end of the segment, but like, what do you do?
Well, what I would do is I'll tell you on the other side. Stay with us. Kevin Acee is going to be joining us at 3:30 coming up next. What should the strategy be tonight for Ohtani in a win or go home game? We'll talk about that coming up next. All right, back here on Jim and Jonathan today. John is I think landed in Wyoming. I'm not quite sure yet. But we'll catch up with John later in the show. The first pitch, get his thoughts on Game 5. Reminder tonight, immediately following Game 5, there will be a wrap-up show. It will be a very a legendary wrap-up show potentially.
So,
regardless of which way this one goes.
Selfishly, I'm looking forward to it because I have a 2-hour and some change drive back from my football game tonight.
See, the good thing about the wrap-up show, I'm not saying it's like better than this or anything. I'm just saying the good thing about that we can't do here is, express myself with words that can't be said on these airwaves because of FCC regulations.
Dude, you would be giving Brent carpal tunnel with how much you would have to hit the dump button if that was the case.
There are some times that I even
on this show, John's the worst one.
John has been the worst one. So
I've dumped John probably triple the amount I've had to dump anyone else at the station other than Nick Hardwick.
So one time, just sidetrack here before we get back to Padres Dodgers and what to do with Ohtani. I think it was like maybe a year ago, and it was during the fusion, and me, Darren, and John, and I don't know what the whole premise of the conversation was, but I think it was like trolls online to me. And John just openly goes, "Yeah, Jim's being a hole," and like he said the word, and I'm like, whoa. Everyone looked at him like, "What are you doing?" And he goes, "I can't say that on the radio." I'm like, "No, you idiot. You can't say those two words together. You can't say a and hole together." And he said it together. He called me one of them on the radio. So, and he said it twice.
Yeah, he's done it multiple times.
Yeah.
Deservedly so.
I mean, look, I'm just glad it's him and not me. So John will join us later in the show. Kevin Acey will join us coming up next. And the strategy tonight, because it's a chess match. It is a pure chess match between Dave Roberts and Mike Schilt. Unfortunately, Mike Schilt, his two worst games of the year have been in the series, in my opinion, Game 1 and Game 4. That Game 4 wasn't as egregious, I thought, as Game 1, but Mike Schultz been fairly good as far as managing and strategizing goes this season. He's not been great this series.
No, Wednesday was bad.
Wednesday was bad.
Less than optimal.
Saturday was worse. And tonight, he's going to have to put on his best performance and make all the right moves. And one of the moves that I'm sure will come up in this game is Shohei Ohtani being at the plate with potential runners in scoring position. 2 times in this series, Jonathan, that has happened with a base open and 2 outs. And both of those times, Ohtani has burned them. I don't think you can do that tonight. You can't. I don't think you could live with yourself if you're Mike Schilt. If you pitch to Ohtani with runners in scoring position and a base open and 2 outs tonight. If you're going to let someone beat you, it's a Sophie's choice.
You'd rather let Mookie Betts beat you.
You don't want to pick either or. But I'm going against Mookie, and that might be foolish, but it's even more foolish, I think, to face Ohtani right now with runners in scoring position.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, look, I know that Mookie feels like he's back. I know that he's had a really strong couple of games, but I'd rather die by the hand of Mookie Betts than die by the hand of Shohei Ohtani.
It's a horrible choice because you're effed if you do and you effed if you don't almost. But like just looking at the numbers, and yes, Mookie has gotten hot, but Ohtani is 16 for his last 18 with runners in scoring position.
Has Darvish has been pretty good against Ohtani though, right?
He has. Lifetime, he has been fairly decent against Shohei Ohtani. He's much better than Dylan Cease was against Ohtani.
Oh, yeah.
By far.
You might be better against Ohtani than Cease.
I don't know if you could live with yourself if you're Mike Schilt, if you just once again decide to go at Ohtani in those situations.
But how you're in the 4th inning, runners are on 1st and 2nd, and Ohtani comes up in a tie ball game or scoreless ball game.
Give me the scenario again.
Like it's the 4th inning, right? Okay. Runners on 1st and 2nd, 1 out.
1 out. What's the score?
0-0.
So it's tight. Okay, so it's scoreless.
You don't load the bases up you have to pitch to him.
You have to pitch to him there. But I'm saying the scenario that's happened twice in this series is with 2 outs. And
you're just
runners
saying
in
in
scoring.
2 out specifically in situations.
Well, it also depends. Like if you have a 4-0 lead and there's a runner at second, I mean, do you want to walk Ohtani there? Probably not.
No.
You don't. You're going straight up against him because you have a 4-0 lead. But I mean, if you're trailing 3-0 and there's a runner at second, I'm trying to keep it at 4. And the worst scenario is to face Ohtani in that situation, especially the last 2, which have been runners on, a base open, and 2 outs. That's the scenario I'm talking about. We haven't had a scenario this series yet where Ohtani's had runners on with less than 2 outs. And he's rarely had.
He's come on 16 times or 18 times in 2 out situations with runners on.
No, twice.
Okay, so what was the 16 for 18 stat?
Oh, dating back to the regular season. With
Understood.
So dating, that would be incredible.
I was like, dude, I don't think they've had that many situations in general.
No. With runners in scoring position, dating back to the regular season, where Ohtani had probably the best 3-week stretch maybe ever.
Mm-hmm.
He's 16 for his last 18 with runners in scoring position. So what do you choose? Do you choose Ohtani to face him straight up there? Like you have all series and it's burned you twice already and you've lost both those games? Or do you say, we're not doing that, and if anybody's going to beat us, we're going to have Mookie.
And it's one of those situations you can't avoid hindsight, right? Like you walk Ohtani and Betts burns you. You look back and, well, I shouldn't have walked Ohtani.
But if
you don't
Ohtani burns you, then you should have walked Ohtani too.
Exactly. So no, it's a lose-lose.
It's a lose-lose. But again, if I'm choosing percentages right now, and if I'm choosing who I'm going up against, it's not Ohtani. It's scary either way, but it's not Ohtani. You can't have that happen. Coming up next, Kevin Acee will join us live from Dodger Stadium, getting you ready for Game 5, Padres-Dodgers. Kevin Acee coming up next. Hey guys, it's Jim from Jon and Jim. Get to Jamul Casino this football season and baseball postseason to join them every Monday in September and October for a chance to win big with Monday Night Live $100,000 punch out with 10 winners every hour at 7 p.m., 8 p.m., and 9 p.m. Your odds are better than ever. Plus, earn entries all month long by playing and getting 2-time entries on Tuesdays with at least $500 in cash for all winners and a chance to up to $100,000 in cash. You will not want to miss it. Jamul Casino has some of the best food that you can eat with Tony Gwynn Sports Pub. It is amazing there. Go there, try their Smash Burger and their Slam Diego Burger. Awesome food at Jamul Casino. Get to Jamul Casino all football season long, including every Monday night for Monday Night Live's $100,000 punch out. Jamul Casino, it's fun above all else. All right, this update is brought to you by the Breeders' Cup World Championships at Del Mar, November 1st and 2nd. Tonight, Game 5, winner go home. Padres, Dodgers, 5:08 first pitch. Yu Darvish in the mound for the Padres against Yoshinobu Yamamoto. Winner moves on to the NLCS, where they will host the Mets starting on Sunday night. And tomorrow, Aztecs take on Wyoming in their second conference game of the season. Our pregame starts at 10:30 a.m. Kickoffs at 12:30 right here on San Diego Sports 760. The Breeders' Cup World Championships are coming right here to Del Mar this November 1st and 2nd. Tickets are limited, so head to breederscup.com now to secure yours before it's too late. Fine dining experiences, box seats, or general admission tickets could be yours. Visit breederscup.com today. All right, back here on Jon and Jim. Jonathan had to go because he is calling high school football tonight. So thanks to him for joining us on a special edition of Jim and Jonathan while Jon is in.
Jonathan's high school football show is on tonight at 5 after us.
Yes, it is. So stay tuned for that. For the, what's it called? It's the unnamed high school football hour with Jonathan Rifkin here on San Diego Sports 760. So, I'll be on at 5 p.m. Trying to catch Kevin Ace right now at Dodger Stadium, getting ready for Game 5. There's no surprises going into this one. There's no changes with either team. There's no like lineup changes, pitching problems, pitching changes, or anything like that. It's a pretty straight up game going in. Lineups are the same, pitching matchups are the same, straight up. And I think once the game starts, that's when just everything you throw out the window. Like, it's not going to be an easy, hey, Darvish goes 7, and you go, versus Darvish goes 6, and you go Adam Scott Suarez. I mean, that's the dream scenario, but it's not something that you can bank on. You're going to have to bank on for chaos. That's basically what tonight will be. Tonight will be chaos. Tonight's going to be unconventional moments. Maybe Michael King coming out. Maybe unconventional parts of the game where you're bunting to try to just get one run in like the third inning. Like any type of advantage that you can get in this game, if you're the Padres, they're going to try to take it. And I think one of the biggest keys is making sure you get on the board first. Getting on the board first is crucial. You do not want to go down early and let Dodger Stadium get into the game. One of the big keys for Game 2 and Game 1, you jumped out to early leads. Now, if you look at every game of this series, the road team has scored first. Game 1, the Padres scored first, obviously jumping out to that 3-0 lead. Game 2, the Padres scored first. And then Game 3 and 4, the Dodgers scored first. So scoring first tonight is crucial, in my opinion. Right now, we're joined by our 3 minutes. Okay, so Kevin Acey is going to join us in about 3 minutes from Dodger Stadium. We'll get his opinions on tonight's game, what he thinks that they should do with Shohei Ohtani, if they should do anything with Shohei Ohtani. And obviously, is there any thought that Michael King might be used in the matchup tonight out of the bullpen? All of that is on the table tonight. That's what I love about a decisive win or go home game, is that anything is possible. Like, anything is possible. You hope that, you're watching the game with no nerves, but when your team's in it, it's like anything could happen.
That's one of those things where you love it and you hate it at the same time.
Oh, yeah.
Because I can tell you right now, the whole night tonight is going to be like, for me, I was just nervous ever since Hernandez hit that grand slam, and then we kind of had to hold on to the lead for like the last 5 innings of that game. That's how I'm going to feel pretty much all of tonight, to where it's like every pitch, I'm just going to be like, oh, God.
Yeah. Every pitch.
No, don't hang something over. Oh, God. Mm-hmm. It's like, yeah, I'm already stressing myself out, and we got like 2 hours yet.
It's the beauty of the sport, but it's also the part of the sport that makes your stomach churn a lot. It makes you feel like you've lost years on your life, and it makes you feel like you've gained a bunch of gray hair in a matter of 2 hours, because everything is amplified up to 100. Every pitch, every strike, every ball, every out, every hit, every walk. It feels like so much is at stake with everything that I just mentioned there. You know, every strike will be applauded. Every ball will be, you're going to groan. If the Padres get a hit, it's the greatest thing in the world. Rally's already started. The thing about the postseason is a rally starts when a runner gets on. Doesn't matter if it's a single, a walk, whatever. Bunt, it doesn't matter. Rallies in the postseason just start with a runner on base. That's it. Runner on first. Rally started. Let me just okay, Kevin is ready. He said he's ready. So we'll get Kevin on here in a moment. But yeah, the agony, the joy, everything about a winner go home postseason game. You know, if they win tonight, oh my God, it's gonna feel just euphoric. It will feel like it will be the greatest feeling in the world. All right, so Kevin AC is joining us right now on Jon and Jim. All right, Kevin, I said it to start today's show. Jon is out, by the way. Jon is traveling to Wyoming to call Aztecs football tomorrow. But I said to start the show, this feels like, and I know 84 happened, but this feels like the one of, if not the biggest games in franchise history. What do you think?
Well, certainly, right? Like until they win, and then you go beyond. But yes, I know. I think I know exactly why you're saying it. I haven't figured out the exact way to explain why. I think there's many reasons. I think you are spot on. Like, first off, it just doesn't happen very often. There just haven't been these many games. You know, the game in New York, it was winner take all with wild card round. I don't think that people really thought, right? Like, yeah. It wasn't their expectation. This is a really good team playing their rival that they've wanted to be so bad for so long. I also think that the winner of this series is probably, you know, if that means anything, but the winner of this series probably becomes a World Series favorite, if not B. And so, huge.
Yeah, just a massive game tonight for both teams, because the Dodgers, if they lose, that's 3 straight division series that they've lost in a row when having the best record in the National League and in baseball, and the Padres are trying to get over that hump once again. Kevin, the strategies in tonight's game are going to be crazy from the first pitch. It's a chess match from the word go. Yesterday, during Mike Schultz's press conference, there was a question asked about Michael King's availability out of the bullpen. Do you think we see him tonight?
I think that he's available. I don't think we see him, but I think he's going to be available. I will tell you, I have not seen him throw the bullpen that would have been normal, right, for him to start game 1. Yeah. That's when he does it. But I missed that? Sure, but I've been out here for hours, so but I had other stuff that I was talking to people about. I can't 100% tell you he didn't throw his bullpen, which obviously would put him out of today's game. I do not think that they feel like they need to go to him, but this game is all in. So guy pitched out of the bullpen. He can do it. He's very good. He's got the mentality to do it, and you can see it.
When Yamamoto was announced as the starter last night, do you think there was, I'm not going to say like a sigh of relief, but maybe just a tiny bit of a sigh of relief that Dave Roberts didn't decide to go bullpen day from the jump? I know it could easily turn into a bullpen day and Yamamoto could only go maybe just 1 out or 2 outs. But I think from a mindset that the Padres have right now, that they have not been well, they have not scored off this Dodgers bullpen. Do you think that they're maybe a little tiny bit relieved that they're seeing Yamamoto to start?
Yes, I want to say yes. I will say this. They have been very confident about, and I think it's real, about facing the bullpen again.
Okay.
That game went as well, and I'm not saying they should. I'm saying, like, look, I think the Dodgers should go bullpen game again.
Yeah.
for the reasons that you elucidated here, and primarily seeing the 9-0 game in game 4. That's a very good bullpen. I think it's deeper in terms of high leverage guys than the Padres. I think it's arguably as good, and that's the way that, I thought, wow, that'd be really good. I will tell you, that went as well the Padres feel. It went as well as it could go, including them getting a lead, up 3-0, up 5-0. and then they can deploy their relievers as they want to. Now, the Padres didn't swing well. They didn't have good at-bats like they normally do, and that allowed them, like, oh, this guy's going to stay in for one more out to get a righty. Okay, this guy's going to stay in for one more out to get a lefty, or two more outs to get a lefty. I mean, it's just everything played into where it was perfect. A bullpen game can go off the rails, too. Like, so, like, easily, if one guy isn't good, and God forbid if two guys aren't good, then the bullpen game absolutely can go off the rails. So I think the Padres were actually feeling like, okay, go ahead, bring it again, because we had an off night and you were as good as you could be. That said, yeah, I think Yamamoto is better. Here's the thing that's not good. If you're buying into that Yamamoto is better for the Padres to face, he won't be in there long if it goes back.
Right. Yeah. If he gives any type of trouble, you're right. Red alert from the word go tonight. They're not going to have a chance to go score 5 runs off him. If he gives up 1 run, that's probably it for Yamamoto tonight. Kevin Acee, our Padres insider, joining us from Dodger Stadium, getting ready for Game 5, winner go home tonight between the Padres and the Dodgers. The strategy of what to do with Shohei Ohtani, the 2 games the Dodgers have won, Kevin, Shohei has been in a situation with runners in scoring position and 2 outs, and he's come through. He's 2 for 2 in those situations. I don't think it's a surprise that those 2 games the Dodgers have won. If the same situation happens tonight with 2 outs and a base open, I know Mookie's hot. It's like a Sophie's choice. Are they going to still pitch him straight up? Like, is nothing going to change strategy-wise in Game 5?
I think it will. I think, it's going to be situational, and that includes who the pitcher is. But I guess I was a little surprised the other day, and then, there you got the single. I said from the start that, like, Mookie is not going to stay this way. That's still Mookie Betts. Yeah. Anybody who's watched Mookie Betts play or play against the Padres, I think it's not a surprise. He's essentially homered in 3 straight games, if not for Jerson Profar, right? Like, that's Mookie Betts. And I think that's the danger of this lineup. But, yes, I think the strategy could change. But he sure has been true to his word, right? That they don't like to back away from anybody.
Right. Yeah, and
they've also pitched him really well, man.
I know they have.
Tanner Scott's in there, or if they bring in, Tanner Scott or whatever, like, no, that's because they feel like their better shot is to go after him, than to face Mookie. But, like, man, this is exactly, obviously, why the Dodgers will eventually pay Shohei Ohtani $700 million.
Right. Yeah. Right now it's only $2 million, but eventually he'll get all the $750 million. Or $690 million that was deferred to like 2050 or whatever. Kevin Acee joining us here on Jon and Jim, Game 5, just a little over a couple hours away at Dodger Stadium. How many outs do you envision Adams, Scott, and Suarez trying to get tonight if the Padres have a lead, say in like the 4th inning or 5th inning?
Ooh, okay. So it's really close, and it's like a 2-run lead or a 1-run lead. Jason Adams, I got to put him in there. He's been pitching incredibly, man. And so, depending on who's coming up, right? But both of these guys are 4- and 5-out capable. I think that Robert Suarez has fixed some things, namely fastball command, but moreover, showing other pitches. And so that makes one-on-one work a lot better. And so I think he's back, and I think you should feel confident if he's in there to get the final 4. But again, like this lineup, there's no doubt that Tanner Scott and Robert Suarez are available for more than an inning. And that is, I love how you said it, because that is something that Mike Schilt will start setting up his game.
Yeah, it's in a decisive game, it's about counting outs. And once you get a lead, you are just counting outs until you get that bridge or till you get to the back end of your bullpen. So it's how important is it that Darvish gives him at least 4, 5 tonight? Like, he's got to get into the 5th inning, right, Kevin? If he gets to the 5th with the lead, you feel really good about yourself, right?
It's where I have started all day when people are asking me how to break down the game. It's like, I believe that the Padres believe that to a certain extent. Not like as Yu Darvish goes, we will go, or the game's over if Yu Darvish gives up a couple runs. But they believe that, like, this game, like, as much as any, like, it starts with Yu Darvish. It's Yu Darvish not just keeping them in the game, but keeping the Dodgers down and allowing the Padres then to get a lead Yeah, I believe it absolutely starts with you, Darvish. I mean, look, they've come back, but you know what? Dodger Stadium, Dodgers offense, Dodgers bullpen, 3-0, man. That's just rough. That's rough. So you Darvish, paramount.
Yeah, I feel like if he gets through 5 and they have the lead, I would take that right now, and I would like the Padres' chances. Final one for me, Kevin, as we'll let you go here, getting ready for Game 5. Who on the Padres lineup to you needs to have that like patented game that's not Fernando Tatis Jr.?
Manny Machado. I mean, obviously it could be anybody, but this is like statue time. This is like 13 on a pedestal and hanging from the rafter, or hanging from wherever they are there, Petco, whatever you call that. This is like number retire time and $350 million time. Like that, and the Japs have been great. So it's Manny. It's the middle of the lineup. Profar, Machado, Arias has not set the table. I mean, they have not got what I don't know if they needed, because here they are alive, Game 5, 1 win away to get into LCS. But it's got to be those guys.
Yeah, and we Manny, if you look at his postseason career with the Padres, we're still, I think, waiting for that like oh my god moment, right? Like the oh my god moment of him hitting like a 2-run homer in like the 8th inning to give them the lead, right?
I think that's entirely fair. Look, Manny Machado changed this team. Okay?
Yeah.
Him and Toddy getting here 19 changed this team. I have always said it, and I believe it in my core. I'm grateful to him as a guy who watches as many games as anyone in person and has to find things to write about. I'm as grateful to Manny Machado as anyone. Fans should be grateful. He deserves to get the big, cheers, the biggest cheers, along with Tatis, but maybe even more so. But I thought his 900 OPS at 22 was sort of an empty 900 OPS. Short sample size thing. There weren't big hits. And I think what you said is fair.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens tonight, Kevin. Enjoy the game. Hopefully you're covering a Padres win in that dugout and clubhouse, and hopefully we'll be talking next week, breaking down the NLCS against the Mets. Kevin, stay safe, man. Have a good one.
Right on. Take care.
All right. Yeah, a Manny moment is just due. A Manny moment is due. And I'm not saying he's not been good, because we talked about it there with Kevin, but like a 2-run homer in the 8th inning, tie game, or trailing by a run to give them the lead. It gives you chills just thinking about it. All right, coming up next, more on Game 5. John will join us from Laramie, Wyoming to break that down as well. More of Jon and Jim coming up next. All right, back here on Jon and Jim. John's going to be joining us here next hour. A little over an hour away from first pitch at Dodger Stadium. It's setting in. It's officially setting in. No big deal. Just one of the biggest, if not the biggest games in franchise history. Man, they can pull this off tonight. And I feel like they have a coin flip chance. I don't feel like it's a David versus Goliath. I don't feel like it's a Padres are, punching up in their weight class here. These teams are very evenly matched. They had leads at Dodger Stadium in game 1, and obviously they blew them out in game 2. So going to Dodger Stadium, scoring runs and putting runs on the board isn't like my concern, because I feel like they can do that. My concern is making sure the Dodgers offense doesn't get going like they did the other night at Petco, and making sure that they don't put up. I mean, right now, if you told me, Brent, Padres score 5 runs tonight, you have to make the 5-run stick. You have to win if you score 5 runs tonight. If you don't, then that something went wrong, especially because putting up 5 runs on the board, more often than not, you got to win that game. And in an elimination game, 5 runs feels like 15 runs, like, because of how everything is managed, how every batter is managed, how every pitch is thrown, the focus on every single batter and every single pitch. If you put up 5 runs tonight, I'm taking that right now, no questions asked.
Well, yeah, I'll take 5 runs, especially with you on the mound. Darvish, not you.
Correct. Yeah, I would give up 5 runs tonight.
You
would
give up 5 runs to the first 5 batters, probably.
Probably, yes.
I probably won't, because I'd walk all 5 of them. So yeah, and it's like you said, they're so evenly matched. Just look at the way the series has gone.
It's no surprise we're at game 5.
They blew us out 1 game, we blew them out 1 game. We each have won a close game, and
there's no surprise that we are here today at game 5, series tied 2-2. I haven't seen like the breakdown numbers for both teams, but they're fairly evenly matched. Like, I think when you look at runs scored, Dodgers might hold an edge there, but just maybe by a couple runs. I think if you look at batting average, it's probably the same. Home runs, probably around the same. Pitchers ERA, like, the advantage the Dodgers have might be slightly with their bullpen because of their shutout they threw in game 4. But you have Adams, Scott, and Suarez on multiple days rest. The Dodgers bullpen, while they didn't get taxed, and that's to me concerning, they still went through the entire A team of their bullpen on Wednesday. Your A team of Scott, Adams, and Suarez, who I think those 3 guys combined, Brent, got to get you 12 outs tonight. Like, if you get me 12 outs tonight, and that's a lot, I understand that's a lot. It's 4 outs each. But if you guys can give us 12 outs tonight combined, then I feel pretty good. And you got to bridge the gap to them. And Darvish getting, 5 innings would be, to me, like, hallelujah, like, thank you. But 4 is the minimum for me. Yeah. 4, it can't be less than that, because then that means something bad happened. And that means that you're trying to piece things together to get to Adam, Scott, and Suarez. And to piece things together to get to them, that's going to be a difficult road to navigate, in my opinion.
Yeah, because if he's coming out before 4, that means either his pitch count is
really
sky high, or
he's giving up a couple runs.
Too many runs. Which in a winner go home scenario, what's too many runs? That's the other question. Is this was a normal Friday night game in June,
gives up 4 runs in 5 innings.
Yeah, that's fine. But tonight, if he gives up 2 runs in 2 innings, you got, the pen's going to be up, but when are you going to pull the trigger on it?
And then who's the first person up if that scenario happens? If he's given up a couple runs in the first 2 innings, is Michael King up? Kevin Acee said he did not throw his bullpen today. It's interesting. Maybe he's saving it for tonight's game. You've seen that happen a lot, where the guys just don't pitch bullpens because they feel like they're going to be pitching in the game that night. Because why go through a taxing bullpen when you'll be pitching in like 5 hours?
Well, especially when you're not a bullpen guy anyways. So
right. This year, he's not a bullpen guy, but he has experience out of the bullpen, which would give me confidence going to him. Like,
well, I just mean because his arm's conditioned as a starter for this year, so he wouldn't have to go through the normal routine that a bullpen guy would have to go through, so he'd be okay skipping it.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm fascinated by the strategy that will go into tonight's game and who gets on the board first. Like, whoever gets on the board first has the clear advantage in my mind, because once that happens, then for that team, it will be counting outs, lining things up to preserve that lead, and then make sure you add on to it as the game goes on. It could be a back and forth game. I truly have no feel as far as what type of game it will be. I just have the feeling that some way, somehow, this Padres team is going to pull it out and come out on top. I don't know how it's going to go. I don't know if it's going to be a 3-2 game. I don't know if it's going to be a 6-5 game. I don't know if it's going to be a 1-0 game. No clue on that part. I just have this like feeling that this Padres team is going to come out on top. And that's all that matters. I don't care what type of game it is. It could be a 10-9 game, as long as the Padres are the team that has 10 runs.
It's going to be the power of the praying mantis.
The power of the praying mantis. Dude, I'm telling you,
Grimace.
There are some things that you have to look at as a Padres fan and be like, there's just no way. And then that's when it sucks the most, because when you say that, and I get it, and then they end up losing, you're like, but you said there was no way. I know. But if you can't try to hold on to that, what are you going to hold on to? So we're about an hour away from first pitch at Dodger Stadium. Coming up next hour, we'll get to the wrap. Very Padres-centric wrap, by the way. Also, we'll talk to John from Laramie, Wyoming, get his thoughts on tonight's Game 5. More of Jon and Jim coming up next. Hey guys, it's Jim from Jon and Jim. It's the best time of the year with the NFL, college football, and of course the Major League Baseball postseason going on. Making picks on Underdog is straightforward, and signing up is even easier. And with Underdog, you can win 325 times your money just by choosing higher or lower on your favorite players' stats. Just head over to Underdog's simple-to-use mobile app or UnderdogFantasy.com. Sign up with promo code Jon and Jim, JONANDJIM, and Underdog's going to give you a free pick to use on your first cash pick'em entry, plus up to $1,000 in bonus cash when you deposit. Go to their mobile app or UnderdogFantasy.com. Sign up with promo code Jon and Jim, JONANDJIM. That's Underdog Fantasy. Promo code Jon and Jim to claim your new customer special of a free pick and your deposit offer. You must be 18 years or older and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms do apply. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncpgambling.org. All right, this update is brought to you by the Breeders' Cup World Championships at Del Mar, November 1st and 2nd. We are about 1 hour away from first pitch at Dodger Stadium between the Dodgers and Padres. Win or go home, Game 5. Darvish will start for the Padres. Yoshinobu Yamamoto will start for the Dodgers. Of course, winner of this game will move on to the NLCS. Well, they will host the Mets on Sunday night. And tomorrow, Aztecs football back in action as they take on Wyoming. 10:30 a.m. Pregame show coverage starts, and 12:30 p.m. is kickoff. You can listen to that right here on San Diego Sports 760. The Breeders' Cup World Championships are coming right here to Del Mar this November 1st and 2nd. Tickets are limited, so head to breederscup.com now to secure yours before it's too late. Fine dining experiences, box seats, or general admission tickets could be yours. Visit breederscup.com today.
Jon and Jim. It's getting real up at the Ravine.
Because it's real.
Tonight, Game 5 of the NLCS. With the spot versus the Mets in the championship series on the line.
This is what we dream of as kids, right? I mean, as a little kid, this is what you want.
Let's go Padres. Plus, the Aztecs are on the road in Wyoming in more Mountain West action. Now, it's Jon and Jim.
All right, 1 hour away from Game 5. Winner go home, Padres, Dodgers. Final hour of Jon and Jim today. John's in Wyoming. He's going to join us at the bottom of the hour to get his thoughts on Game 5. We will have a wrap-up show, me and John, later tonight. Another good omen, Brent. I like looking at these good omens, right? The last time this happened where the Padres had a chance to eliminate the Dodgers, 2022.
John was also gone?
John was also gone.
Oh, okay.
So we did a Game 4 wrap-up show. John was in Utah. I forget why. I think he was on vacation. And I gave him crap because I'm like, you missed the biggest game of the year.
Yeah, he always goes to that one town in Utah all the time.
Yeah,
I forget what it's called. Yeah, so did I.
Anyway, he was in Utah, so he was from a random hotel, and I was back here in San Diego. Tonight, John's going to be at a random hotel. I'm back here in San Diego. Hopefully, the same thing occurs tonight on the wrap-up show to make sure to check out that. All right, Brent, let's get to the wrap. Let's get to it right now.
It's time for the wrap, presented by Sombrero Mexican Food. Check out their website at sombreromex.com.
What will you, Darvish's pitching line be tonight?
I mean, I would love 9 innings, no runs, no hits. I think realistically, I'm going to go 4 innings, 1 run, because I think the pitch count will be high. I just think for both teams, you could see high pitch counts from both starters. So with that, I think 4 innings, 1 run. It's not the most ideal thing in the world, but at least if you went 4, gave up 1 run, I think the chances of you leading that game are better than 50%. And if you can just make sure you bridge the gap to the back end to Suarez, Adam, and Scott. Yeah, 4 innings, 1 run. I hope for more. I'm hoping for 5 innings, no runs, or 6 innings, 1 run. But an elimination game, once you get stressed, they're not taking any chances.
I'll go maybe 4 2/3.
I'm getting the 5th. Yeah, I like that. Yeah,
I'm kind of with you. I think he's gonna maybe get himself in some high pitch count situations, maybe walk a couple guys to where that might have an impact on it. And it's, like you said, we're in a situation now where everything is amplified so much to where the leash is going to be extremely short when it comes to yanking anybody tonight on both sides.
Yeah, any trouble for either of these pitchers, there will be someone up in the bullpen for sure.
There's probably already people up in the bullpen.
Right, yeah. Michael King may be up in the bullpen. Jeremiah Estrada may be up in the bullpen. Who knows? Next question, Brent.
Who's going to be the unsung hero tonight for the Padres?
Well, he's not really an unsung hero, but he has not done anything in this series or postseason, and that to me is Luis Arraez. I'm picking Luis Arraez. I'm taking my chances with the Rally Mantis. I think tonight he is due for a big game, and even if the game is like a 3-for-4 night, I think a 3-for-4 night from Luis Arraez sets everything up for this team and this offense. He's not unsung. He's a big part of this team, but he just has not had a good series or a good postseason. I'm picking Luis Arraez tonight to have a big game.
I'm with you. They need their table setter.
Yeah,
you do. It's like Kevin said earlier. It makes a big difference when Manny and Tatis get up there, that Arias is
Someone's
already on base.
The pressure is on by having someone on base in a decisive game 5 or game 7 or game 3. When runners are on, it just makes things that much more stressful for the opposing pitcher.
And maybe honorable mention. I keep saying Cronenworth.
You're trying really hard to.
I know. I'm trying to LeVar Ball that
Yeah.
into existence.
Like something. Just do something, Cronenworth. Like just give.
I know he had a couple
something.
hits the other day, but just like I'm looking for like. You remember the last season series they played against the Dodgers when he had that home run,
yeah.
that big game,
The triple play game.
Yeah, I'm looking for something like that out of Chrome Zone.
That would that'd be very nice. Next question, Brent.
How many runs do you think the Padres need to score tonight?
I would feel very comfortable with like another 10-run outing at Dodger Stadium, but realistically, like I just said, if you put up 5 runs on the board, I'm taking that every day, regardless of anything of what I know about the rest of the game. Like, you tell me right now, in a winner go home game, you put up 5 runs, like, gotta make that stick. So I think 5 runs, I take my chances with that.
I'd go with 5 just because I want it to be more than one swing can fix. Like the other night where
get out
we gave up
range.
the grand
Yeah.
slam, but we still had the lead. I don't want to be in a situation where one swing of the bat is just going to either just completely change what's going on.
Well, I mean, look, if you have a 5-3 lead, I mean, still one swing of the bat could change things, but I get your point. Like, if you have a 5-0 lead, even if you gave up a grand slam, right? Like the
You
other
still
night,
have the lead.
you still have a 5-4 lead. But yeah, this no grand slams tonight from the Dodgers. No grand slams from the Dodgers tonight. That'd be nice. Final question, Brent.
Is this really the biggest game in franchise history?
I had on X or Twitter somebody by the Twitter name of Padres Doomer tell me that 84 was much bigger. Game 5, Garvey home run. Now, he said he was in the bleachers. I'm not saying it's not, because I wasn't even born or alive yet. But I mean, if you want to go with 84 game 5 against the Cubs, then go for it. If you want to go against the Braves in 98 to get to the World Series, go for it.
Here's the thing with that, though. Those are all in hindsight because they know what happened.
True.
We don't know what's going to happen tonight.
Yeah.
There could be some sort of Steve Garvey home run situation that happens tonight that then people will be like, oh, okay, this elevates it.
Depending on what happens tonight.
Yeah, because we don't know what's going to happen yet.
Right. Like tonight, if I'm trying to speak this into existence, is a Manny Machado clutch moment late in the game to give them the lead or increase their lead or tie the game up or whatever the case may be, then yeah, that would signal, oh my God, biggest game in franchise history. Now, if they win, it's one of the biggest wins in franchise history, not the biggest win, but one of. But going into the game tonight, all of the pressure, all of the nervousness, it feels like this one, because of the circumstances, Dodger Stadium against the Dodgers, I feel like it's the biggest one. And again, I know that I wasn't around for 84, but in this moment right now, it's just hard to not say that it's the biggest game in franchise history. Like, that's just how I feel. And if you don't want to make it that big because you feel like your hopes could be let down if they don't win, like, I understand that. I totally get it. If you want to make it lesser than it is and not have it in your mind be the biggest game in franchise history in case they do lose, because then it's going to be like end of the world. And I get that. I just think it's the biggest game. I just do. There's just a lot riding on this from both sides. It's not just a Padres thing. It's a Dodger thing as well. I mean, the Dodgers could have franchise altering moves in the offseason if they don't win this game. Padres, they're not going to have franchise altering moves, but from hey, this is our best team that we've maybe ever had and maybe our best chance to ever win a World Series. That's where if they lose this game tonight, how devastating it would feel.
Well, and it doesn't help that it's the Dodgers. for me, that's the biggest thing. If
Oh yeah, if it was like
this
the
was Game
Brewers
5 against
or-
Milwaukee, or again, well, that sting a little bit for me because I'd never hear the end of it at home.
Sure.
But if they're playing Arizona or the Phillies or somebody like that, to me it wouldn't burn as much. It's like I said during one of the commercial breaks. If the Bears made it to playoffs, they could get bounced in any fashion, and it wouldn't bother me as much as them
Packers.
losing to the Packers.
Yep.
And this is the same situation here. Just the fact that they're playing the Dodgers just makes it like just 10 times worse.
Oh, 100%.
Than if they were playing anyone else.
100%. When you factor in a rivalry, it becomes worse. Look at 03. And this is like going way back. When the Yankees hit that walk-off home run in Game 7 off Tim Wakefield, Aaron Bleepin Boone to win Game 7. They went on to the World Series, and you might not remember because that whole season is about the home run off of Tim Wakefield, Aaron Bleepin Boone. You beat the Red Sox at Yankee Stadium to go to the World Series. If you remember, they lost the World Series that year to the Marlins. But, that whole thing, that moment is remembered more than them losing the World Series now because it was against the Red Sox. Same thing applies here a little bit. You're obviously extremely disappointed if the Padres end up winning this game and then they don't win the World Series. That's without saying. But beating the Dodgers here, not only getting past them again, preventing them from winning a World Series, a legitimate World Series for the first time since 1988, it just makes it that much better and that much, I guess, sweeter. A lot of things have to happen for it to be like the greatest thing ever, and that would be obviously winning a World Series. But in the postseason, there are going to be moments like tonight where your back's up against the wall, elimination games, on the road, must-win game. Like, it's not just going to be easy walkthrough to the championship or to the World Series. It's just not going to be like that in any sport. So you got to go through the peaks and the valleys, and you got to go through tough moments. And, tonight, if they get past the Dodgers, it's, to me, one of the it's bigger than 2022. In my opinion, when they beat the Dodgers in 4, this would be much bigger than that. And then we'll see what happens following, hopefully, a win tonight for the Padres, going up against the Mets in the NLCS. But the NLCS doesn't matter right now. All that matters is tonight. All that matters is Game 5 first pitch in less than an hour at Dodger Stadium. All right, coming up next, we're going to get John on the phone to get his thoughts on this Game 5, and we'll talk about a little more strategy into this game and give more breakdown on Game 5 coming up next on Jon and Jim. All right, we're about, 40-some minutes away from first pitch at Dodger Stadium. Darvish on the mound, Yamamoto on the mound. Game 5, winner go home. Biggest game of the season, potentially biggest game in franchise history. No big deal. I got nervous. I just got nervous, Brent. I just got nervous. Like, the closer you get to first pitch, the more nervous you get.
It's funny how every time you keep saying it's the most important game in franchise history, it makes you nervous.
Yeah.
Say it a couple more times.
Actually, I'm going to stop saying that, even though I'm going to ask John that question if he thinks that. John's going to join us next segment from Wyoming. Mike Schilt, pregame today, talked about the mindset of the ball club heading into tonight's winner go home game 5.
Mike, from your experience in a game of this magnitude, what is the best kind of mindset for what a clubhouse should look like heading into something like this?
It should look like April, May, June, July, August, September, October. I mean, the way I was raised, the way I feel strongly about, the way I feel convicted about is, if you're taking the game every day to the preparation that it needs to be taken to, and you're going to go play and compete regardless of circumstance. It doesn't matter if it's game 1 or game 5 in NLCS. It just doesn't matter. It's about going and playing. If there was something that we would have done earlier that says, now we go play and now let's go get them and let's go, we'd have done it in June. But the good news is we've done it since spring training. We've normalized going to compete regardless of circumstance. So it's really about showing up and playing good, solid, clean baseball.
The things that's been instilled in this team all year long is what's going to win them tonight's game. And it's the grit, it's the fight, it's the never give up. It's the we've been in every situation, we're not scared of any situation type of mentality that has been, I think, really instilled. You saw it moments in the first half, but really kicked it into another gear the start of the second half on that, I think it was a 9-game road trip. They lost the first game of the road trip. They lost 7-0 to the Cleveland Guardians. Then they ripped off 7 in a row. They lost the final game of that road trip to the Baltimore Orioles. Then they came home. They swept the Dodgers. And then they went on a run there in August when I went to Switzerland and Italy, and they haven't looked back since. And I feel like the moment of the trade deadline and the second half, that 9-game roadie to start, that's where this team really kicked it into gear. And all the things that Mike Schultz talking about there was really like everybody was believing. I think you could say people were believing in the first half before that as well. But it really kicked into another gear in the second half.
Well, I think a lot of it too just has to do with consistency, with his comment about, oh, well, we're going to treat it just like we did in, April and June, July, and, so on and so on. It's to where he's had it instilled, mentally all year that, look, we're just going to go, it's cliche, but we're just going one game at a time. When today's game is done, we're
pretty important game though, Brent.
I know, but see,
I get it.
The thing is, when you get it in their head that it's just another game, they can just go through their routine almost and not
make it bigger than it really is,
and not feel as much added pressure if they can get it in their heads to where, like he's saying, we're going to treat it like any other game. We're not going to, break our routine and make a bigger deal out of it, because that's going to, that could get in people's heads.
Because it is, at the end of the day, it's a baseball game. And it's a baseball game with a lot on the line, but it's a baseball game. And going out there and doing the little things and the things that have made you successful throughout the entire season in tonight's game, nothing will change in that aspect. Like, there's still going to be a pitcher 60 feet 6 inches. There's still going to be a batter 3 and 2. You still have to have 3 strikes to strike out. 4 balls is a walk. Like,
it's very, very Gene Hackman of you.
Nothing is changing in the game. It is still a baseball game, just with a lot on the line. So from the standpoint of doing things how you've done it all year long, that's exactly right. And Mike Schultz is the king of that. He is the king of a message that do what you do, Don't change. We believe in you. We believe in our preparation. We believe in the way we play. If we go out there and we do all the things that we know we're capable of, most likely than not, we're going to win that ball game. And that's what the mindset is going into tonight. So, yeah, I mean, let's go, man. I'm jacked up. I'm ready. I'm nervous. I bet you all are nervous out there as well. I would say try to enjoy tonight's game, but I understand because every single pitch will be agonizing. The only point of the game, Brent, that I feel like people will truly enjoy is if they win and the last out's made. Once that last out's made, and if the Padres are on top and they're celebrating, that's when people will say, man, I had a lot of fun there. But other than that, it's going to be a train. It's going to be a train wreck as far as the emotions go, up and down and back and forth. Season's over. Oh my God, we're going to win. Season's over. Oh my God, we're going to win. That's just what playoff baseball is. And I mean, I love it. I love it and I hate it.
You might have to have a brown paper bag next to you so you have something to breathe in just in case.
There'll be a lot of pacing tonight as well.
Are you a big pacer?
Yes.
I won't start pacing until like the last 3 outs. That's the way I was when I was when the Cubs won the World Series. I pretty much sat and didn't move.
And then as soon as you had a chance, you're like, oh my God. And then
then I went into like shock for like 10 minutes, honestly. I just kind of stood there. My roommate was like practically doing backflips. And I just like
Sean,
sat
the game's
there.
not over yet.
Well, I kept waiting for my alarm to go off.
Yeah.
And so
Got it.
Once you get down to like the last 3 outs, then I'll start pacing.
3 outs,
screaming.
The 3 outs with the lead are the hardest to get. We all know that. And hopefully Robert Suarez is on the mound with a lead in tonight's game. All right, coming up next, John's going to join us from Wyoming. We'll get his thoughts on Game 5. We're about 40 minutes away from first pitch at Dodger Stadium. More Jon and Jim coming up next.
The Dennis Lynn Report is brought to you by 90 Barrel East Village, the go-to spot for sports fans since 2011. Dennis, I guess kudos to the Dodgers for announcing their Game 5 starter a day before the game rather than hours before first pitch. But how much are the Padres preparing for a bullpen game, even though Yoshinobu Yamamoto has been announced?
Yeah, it's all hands all hands on deck kind of series, and all hands on deck Game 5, obviously. So I think the Padres were prepared either way. Dave Roberts did say, before the game yesterday, to his credit, if you want to call it credit, that Yamamoto was probably going to be involved in some regard, and I think the Padres figured on that because the Dodgers would run out of innings if they were not going to pitch, Yamamoto or Jack Flaherty, who could also appear in this game at some point. So Padres have seen a lot of these guys, and they obviously saw the Dodgers, the bullpen, kind of shut them down over the past 12 innings, 15 overall if you include Dodgers starters. So Padres have to be prepared for anything. It's just a matter of, in this case, trying to put up as many runs as on Yamamoto as possible, which they've done because that bullpen again has given them a lot of trouble.
And Darvish was, of course, brilliant for the Padres on Sunday. I'm sure they're hoping to get the same sort of effort today. But if not, there's any early struggles at all, what's the Padres' plan behind Darvish?
Yeah, it's there's not a lot of secret about it, I don't think, unless Michael King, who was kind of lobbying yesterday to be available in the bullpen, is coming out of that bullpen. I think you're just going to see guys like Adrian Morejon or Jeremiah Estrada coming in. And the Padres making full use of that bullpen, but obviously having Darvish on regular rest, and after he went 7 innings in Game 2, they're hopeful that he gives them at least a good solid 4 or 5 innings. One thing to note though is his, I know this gets a little nerdy right here, but his expected stats in Game 2 were not great. So that indicates he got maybe a little bit lucky, but you still have to give him credit for going out there, especially with that heated environment in Game 2 and really kind of locking it down.
Last thing, Dennis, Xander Bogaerts is always very candid in his interviews. And when we talked to him on Tuesday, he seemed to indicate the Padres were kind of shell-shocked to be playing a game 5 in Los Angeles. I mean, I'm sure they expect to close it out in San Diego. What was the demeanor like yesterday at Dodger Stadium?
It seemed very loose, as you would expect from this group. Yeah, it was kind of interesting, kind of the reverse of spring training, where they worked out early in the morning, they worked out, at night under the lights at Dodger Stadium. Everyone seemed, fairly calm, and they've been in a lot of tough situations this year, and they've been in places where they got in at 3 a.m. on the road, and after flying across the country, and they play the next day and won. They've obviously played well on the road this year, including at Dodger Stadium. So I think there's a lot of confidence for them. But that said, Xander Bogaerts did also note that maybe they were trying to do a little too much in Game 4. So it's their backs are against the wall. So are the Dodgers, so to speak. So should be a fun Game 5, I think, all around.
All right, this update is brought to you by the Breeders' Cup World Championships at Del Mar, November 1st and 2nd. We're about a half hour away from first pitch at Dodger Stadium. Game 5, Yamamoto on the mound for the Dodgers against Darvish for the Padres. Of course, the winner moves on to the NLCS to take on the Mets starting on Sunday. And tomorrow, the Aztecs take on Wyoming. 12:30 kickoff in Wyoming. 10:30 is when our pregame cover starts right here on San Diego Sports 760. The Breeders' Cup World Championships are coming right here to Del Mar this November 1st and 2nd. Tickets are limited, so head to breederscup.com now to secure yours before it's too late. Fine dining experiences, box seats, or general admission tickets could be yours. Visit breederscup.com today. All right, we're just waiting for John to call. Call, John. What's going on, bro? Told me to call him at 4:30. And now it's 4:32. Sorry, 4:33. And we still don't have John yet. Soft. About a half hour away from first pitch, Dodger Stadium. We're going to have it on the TV as the pregame's underway. I think the entire pregame crew is at Dodger Stadium. They beat this one up. They got there. They got the whole pregame crew there. Fox. They're treating this game like a Game 7. I mean, they have everybody there at Dodger Stadium. And
there's only one other series going on. So they got
also too. Those other series are the TBS series. So Fox, they're done with the Mets and Phillies. So this is one of the biggest games other than the Game 7 championship round for the World Series. Dodgers, Padres, the Rays be through the roof tonight. Because you got nothing else on. I think we might have a couple college football games. I'm not quite sure. There will be. They do Oklahoma, Texas. You got Utah, Arizona State. The game might be that's on ESPN. Good matchup. I don't hate it. But yeah, tonight will be. You've seen the ratings in this series. They've been really, really good for baseball. Some of the best ratings they've ever had. The other day, you look at the ratings for Game 4 here in San Diego. 50% of TVs in households had the Padres on. So every TV that was on in San Diego, 50% of them were Padres Dodgers games. Tonight, I don't think anything's changed. I think tonight, since it's a Friday, people probably got off work maybe a little early. Maybe some people didn't go to work at all because they're nervous and scared. Totally get it. Totally understand. And then tonight, it's a Friday night. Don't have to work tomorrow. Got some college football tomorrow. It's either going to be a let's go out and celebrate, or I don't want to talk to anybody for the next 48 hours. That's how these things work. You know, they win tonight. We're celebrating. We're getting ready for Game 1 on Sunday here at Petco Park. They lose. It's going to be a very long offseason. It will be a very long offseason. But again, I just have a good feeling. And maybe I'm an idiot. Maybe I'm wrong. Probably, I don't know. I just feel like this team, like, you know, the in the Matrix, Brent, I forget her name, but the very first one, and she's looking up, she's like, not like this. Not like this. Switch, yeah. Not like this. That's how I feel about this Padres team. Not like this. Can't end like this. It can't. Not with everything that's happened this year. Not with all the special moments. Not with all the comebacks. Not with all amazing second half. Doing this for Peter Seidler. The amazing season from Jackson Merrill. All-star season from Jurickson Profar. The resurgence of Manny in the second half. Tatis coming back and being amazing in the postseason. Not like this. Not like this. We have him? All right, we have him. Jon Schaefer's joining us here on his own show, Jon and Jim. Thanks for joining me, buddy. I'm glad you waited like 8 minutes before calling.
Yeah, no problem. I'm in Wyoming, so the time is different here.
Oh, great. That's awesome. Thanks a lot, buddy. So biggest game in Padres history tonight. What do you say about that?
Well, I saw you put that on social media, and I was thinking about doing the deep dive, and then I let it kind of go. I mean, it's obviously a huge game. And, yeah, maybe you can go back like 40 years and say that there have been meaningful games or comparable games. But, I mean, yes, it's massive against the Dodgers with more than bragging rights on the line, with it being a decisive game, with these teams, the winner likely the World Series favorite. It's a massive game, and it's hard to argue that if it's not the biggest game in franchise history, it's right there.
Yeah, it's right up there with Game 584. It's up there. I mean, they've only had 3 elimination games in their franchise history. Tonight would be the 4th. They've never been in a Game 7. This is the second Game 5, along with 84, and they've been in 2 other Game 3s, and that was a 2020 and 2022. So I think with everything that is in this game, who the opponent is, what's at stake, the feeling of this team being like a World Series contender, it just feels like one of the biggest, if not the biggest, to me. Jon, we were looking over the starting lineups. Everything's chalk. Nothing really stands out. Nothing's different. Are you surprised by that, or are you thinking to yourself, "I look, this is what got you here. Mike Schultz not changing this up. Why change it up now?"
Yeah, I'm really glad they didn't. And I think maybe they had a consideration to it, or you've seen some chatter. Maybe they would move the lineup around. I don't do it now. I mean, they've had enough success. They're here because of what they've been doing. Being 2-2 in the series isn't a bad thing. I mean, it's put yourself in a position where you're just another game away. And they won Game 2, obviously, at Dodger Stadium. I'm not changing a thing. I'm trusting my lineup. I'm trusting you, Darvish, and I'm trusting the success against Yamamoto they've had this year. They're going to have to find a way early in this game to get to him. Put the pressure on LA immediately. Hopefully they can do that here today, first or second inning. That's what they got to do to kind of put themselves in a position where they're going to feel good. You don't want to be tight. You want to be loose. You want to score first. They're batting the top of the first inning. Let's see if they can take advantage of Yamamoto again for a 4th time.
We've talked about this for literally a week and a half. The Ohtani strategy. Like, we talked to Kevin, and he said maybe you have to change it tonight, even though it doesn't feel like they are. I mean, how pissed are you going to be if that moment comes up where Ohtani's up base open, 2 outs, runner in scoring position, and they pitch to him.
Yeah, I just can't allow my off season to be thinking about that, every single night. If I'm the Padres, and I get it, Best is fully capable, but I still would play percentages and tell you that Ohtani is probably more clutch because he's as clutch as anyone has been in baseball. So
yeah.
I can't allow Ohtani to beat me in that spot. I mean, you have to have certain rules with him. It's not going to be easy, even if you're putting him on, obviously, with their lineup.
Yeah.
But you got to be overly cautious. We've talked about it for 4 games. They've made a couple of mistakes to him. They've lost the games. They've made mistakes to him. If you do it again, your season's over. I just can't live with myself if I'm the Padres and that happens here tonight.
So I was saying during the show that I think Scott, Adam, and Suarez need to give you 10 to 12 outs tonight. With that being said, if Darvish only gives you 4, how are you bridging that gap? Are you just going with the bullpen, or is there a consideration there in your mind that they could maybe should go to Michael King?
I wonder if those 3 relievers can get you 12 plus outs. Truthfully, I mean, if there's someone that has a hot hand, could someone give you 2 plus innings in that group?
That's
in
a
this
lot.
Circumstance, they're all coming off multiple days off, depending on pitch counts. But there's also Jeremiah Estrada. King was okay the other night. I just don't know if I love the idea of him coming out of a bullpen for the first time this year. I know he did it with the Yankees last year successfully. I just don't know. Maybe it's predicated on where you are in that lineup, but I'm probably going to trust 4 relievers, add Jeremiah Estrada in there, and try to get about 15 outs out of 4 guys.
Mm-hmm.
And that hopefully will be enough because Darvish is going to give you he's got to give you at least a few innings here tonight, you would think.
Yeah, the thing with Jeremiah Estrada that concerns me, though, is that he's pitched a lot in this series comparable to Adam Scott and Suarez. And so I'm thinking to myself, at Dodger Stadium, he did not look good. He looked good at Petco, but I don't know, man. If Michael King, if he's available, Kevin Acee said he did not throw his bullpen today, and today is his bullpen day. So, if Darvish is only going to give you 4, because maybe he has a high pitch count or whatever, and you have a lead to bridge that gap, do you trust Michael King or do you trust Jeremiah Estrada in that situation? That's going to be a tough call.
And that's a tough decision, truthfully. Because you're talking about, the sample size of 3 batters, potentially maybe longer. If it's King, maybe, you give him a second inning, it's the 5th and 6th inning, and now you're in your 7th inning. You can go to your Adam Scott Suarez, to finish off the game, but that's going to be predicated maybe on feel. I feel like maybe you're forcing it if you're Mike Schilt with Michael King. You're coming off an off day. You're in a deciding game. If there's ever a time to stretch, you need to force Michael King in there just because. I think if you get to the 5th inning, your bullpen's probably reliable. I think maybe if it's earlier than the 5th inning, if Darvish pitches 3 innings, okay, that's a serious consideration. But he goes 4+ innings. I don't know if you need another starter in the game or not.
No, yeah, I agree with you. I think if Darvish can give you 5 tonight and you have the lead after 5, that to me is like dream scenario in this situation. But if he can only go 3 because maybe it's a high pitch count or the Dodgers maybe got to him a little bit, like you got to bridge that gap. And I don't know if Morejon and Estrada are those guys to keep it at whatever the score is to make sure you have a chance to come back in this game. It's going to be fascinating to see there, John. As far as a player tonight that you just have maybe a feeling on, or is going to have a big game for the Padres, like who would you take in that situation?
Honestly, I think it's Luis Arraez as a table setter.
Yeah.
I don't know if he has the big hit in the game, although he's been good with men in scoring position and he puts the ball in play. And that wouldn't shock me if he had an opportunity with men in scoring position and he came through. I just feel like he's going to get on base a couple of times or more tonight, and that'll allow them to score enough. You're going to trust in your big hitters to get him in, guys like Tatis, Machado, Merrill. But I feel like Luis Arraez is kind of due for a night where he's on base 3 times. If that happens, I feel good about the Padres' chances. Again, I don't know if he's got the big hit in the game, but I wouldn't be surprised if he scored the big run in the game because they need him to get on base. And we'll see if that happens here tonight, leading off for San Diego or not.
Yeah, the guy is so due. He is due for.
He really is.
He's due for like a 3 for 5 night with a double or something along those lines. Manny Machado, though, John, like Kevin said it. Tonight feels like one of those, banner hanging, jersey retirement statue type of nights if he can come through in a big way, because he hasn't come through in a big way for this Padres team in the postseason. In the last 3 postseason appearances, he's had good moments, and he's obviously had, home runs early in the game and great defensive plays and then the great base running play last night. But we haven't seen that 2-run double in the 8th inning to give them the lead late, or a late home run to maybe tie the game up, or whatever the case may be. Like, doesn't it feel like tonight kind of feels like a legacy game moment for Manny Machado in front of him?
It absolutely is. I mean, there's 2 ways this goes. I mean, you can win the game and he doesn't have to be the star of a win, but
right.
It's still, a banner night for the team and you're moving on, and you absolutely can live with that. There's no problems there if you're moving on. But you're right. I mean, if they lose this game and it isn't a good night for Manny Machado, that's a long off season for him too. And it probably starts with someone like him, and the other players as well are going to be accountable for it. But you're right. I mean, if you lose this game 4-3 and Manny Machado's 0 for 4 with a walk and doesn't come through with men in scoring position 1 or 2 times late in this game, that's something you're living with for a while. So yeah, it's magnified. And the truth is, he hasn't come through in some of those situations previously. He's had some moments, but in terms of those really clutch, big marquee game on the line situations, he's lacked at times. So maybe tonight he turns that around. We shall see. This is high pressure. These are big moments, but this is why he's here. Truthfully, this is why he's making this kind of money.
All right, we're about 23 minutes away from first pitch. Did I get that right? 23 minutes away? It's 4:45.
You did.
15. Okay, 23 minutes away from first pitch at Dodger Stadium. Where are you watching this game? In your room at the hotel or what?
No, not in the room. I don't know where, though. I'm just checking in. It's a big, I don't even know, kind of like a resort. We're staying in Cheyenne, not Laramie, but I'll be watching it in there's a few bars here, so I'll be watching it in 23 minutes.
Oh, must be nice staying at a palace in Wyoming.
It's a Wyoming palace.
That's
correct.
great. That's awesome. All right, dude. I'll talk to you on the wrap-up show tonight. Hopefully about a win. And if not, they lose, then get ready to talk Seahawks football.
Yeah, exactly. All right, man.
All right, dude.
I'll talk to you tonight.
All right, later, bro. Oh man, we are inching closer to first pitch at Dodgers Stadium. We'll give you our predictions coming up next, right here on Jon and Jim.
All right, lower mortgage rates are finally here. Hey guys, it's Schaefer. Thanks to the Fed and Loan Pronto. Loan Pronto just locked in a homeowner at 4.59% APR, the lowest in 2 years. Whether you got stuck with your loan in the last month or within the last year, it's time to call Loan Pronto and dump that high rate loan. You can lock in a lower rate fast with virtually no paperwork and usually no appraisal. There's no limit on how many times you can refi. So get started. Use this opportunity to get cash out and wipe out your credit cards. You could do a cash out refi and get 50, 75, 100 grand or more out of your home and use that to pay off all your high interest debt and end up with just one low monthly payment. If you act now, you can even skip your next 2 house payments. Purchase loans available as well. So call now, get your rate quote in minutes with no hard credit pull and no upfront fees like those other guys. VA Streamline loans are also available with Loan Pronto. Call 619-207-4336 or loanpronto.com. 619-207-4336 or loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender. NMLS 1661781 on approved credit. NMLSconsumeraccess.org.
All right, truthfully, Brent, I got nothing else. Game 5, about 15 minutes away. There's nothing else that needs to be said. We'll know in a couple hours if the Padres are moving on to the NLCS or if it's going to be a long off season. But yeah, at this moment in time, there's really nothing else that needs to be said other than like, let's just go. Let's go. Let's get this game started and start fast, score some runs in the first inning for Darvish. Getting that Dodgers bullpen as soon as possible, because then it would disrupt their plan for tonight. I'm not saying that I want to see the bullpen for the Dodgers, but I'm saying disrupt their plan, which however many innings they have slated for Yamamoto, make sure that he doesn't hit that.
Yeah, no, my dream scenario is, I got to go get dog food and a couple things after the show. Is by the time I get back into the car, I would like us to at least have a couple runs.
At least a couple runs.
Just so we can breathe a little bit and we don't have to, have clenched sphincters for the entire game.
Yeah. And a good friend of mine on social media, I won't say his name, but he put out a tweet, and it's a quote. And it's a quote that rings true for moments like this. It says, pressure is a privilege. I'm not taking credit for that. This person is. Pressure is a privilege. And tonight, you are in a moment, in a time that the pressure has never been higher. And as a fan, you might be freaking the F out. I'm nervous as hell right now. I hate the Dodgers. I want the Padres to win as bad as anybody. But also remember that this moment is a privilege as a fan, because they have a chance to do something very special. So, with that said, Padres, Dodgers, moments away from Dodgers Stadium. Pressure off. Yes. There you go. Padres, let's effing go San Diego. We'll talk to you on the wrap-up show. Coming up next, Jon Jim, High School Football Hour. Stay here. Name pending. Enjoy the game. Talk to you in the wrap-up show later. Everybody stay safe. That's effing go San Diego.